Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan. Joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Oh, we can't hear you, DJ.
Good, because I didn't say anything interesting.
Oh, okay. He wanted there to be dead air. This is the high sign. This is the sign that says start talking. I know it says the Captain Logan Show, but there's other heads in the boxes, and other people should also probably say some things.
Sorry, I've only been doing this for a year, guys. Jeez, give me a break. I'm still warming up to it.
A year? You've been doing this for at least 2 years.
Oh my goodness, I'm fired.
He doesn't even know how long he's been here. And guesting with us once again tonight is Conner Nielsen. Hello, Conner.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Conner is here to chat with us a little bit later about the last Daniel Craig Bond film. We're going to do a how we felt about on No Time to Die. And before we do that, as always, we're going to go to some Square Off polls and show you guys what's been going on lately. But first, I want to find out how you guys' little get-together was. DJ and Conner hung out at DJ's house, and we've now all hung out in person, but not the three of us together yet. That has not happened yet, but I've seen Conner twice, I've seen DJ once, and now DJ and Conner have seen each other once, and it sounds like they had a good time. What did you guys do together in Georgia?
Oh, well, we went to this old, really old, like 86-year-old theater that's down the street from me that I've been here for 2 years and I've still never visited.
I really wanted the end of that sentence to be haunted house.
Yeah, we went to the haunted theater, and no, we went to a old theater where they show old movies sometimes, and sometimes they show silent films with a live organ player playing the music, which is really cool. They're doing that with Phantom of the Opera on Halloween, so I'm going to try to go to that. I don't think Connor's going to make it back out here, but yeah, we saw Young Frankenstein in the theater, and we hung out. I showed him the city, showed him Atlanta, and then we shot a bunch of videos the last day it was here. We shot 3 one-hour-plus videos, including the most ridiculous commentary that anyone has ever done. I don't know why we did that. We were like for 30 minutes trying to pick something to do a commentary on, and the thing we ended up with was so stupid. But I'm going to try to get all those videos out. I got 4 videos in the can. I'm going to try to get those up soon so you guys can see what we were doing. But yeah, it was fun. Did you have fun? Did you like Atlanta?
I loved Atlanta. It was so cool. I had a blast. Like I always do when I go to another state, I'm only there for like 2 days.
Yeah, it was crammed. It was a jam-packed weekend.
Unless it's Kansas. I've been there for more than 2 days at a time.
But the first time you were here, you were only here for 2 days.
That is correct. When I've gone to Hawaii, New York, Georgia, I cram it all into a couple of days. But you know what? I always have a good time no matter where I'm going. And DJ was a lovely host. It was really nice to hang out with him and his wife. And we watched a really ridiculous movie for our commentary, and I had a great time going to the theater. Even though I was a little jet lagged still, it was nothing compared to the second flight. Like for 3 days after I got back, I was just completely backwards. So
yeah, his flight was at 6 a.m., so we had to get up at like 4 to get him to the airport. So that was a rough Sunday morning, but it was a good weekend.
Conner gets around, man.
He's a cool guy. He's a real cool guy.
I try.
He's like the opposite of Smallville. It's flights and tights, or maybe flights and no tights. It's like a mix of Smallville. He won't wear tights, but he doesn't draw the line at flying.
I didn't say what he was wearing.
That's true. You didn't, and that's why I was unsure.
You don't see my flying uniform either.
Yeah, he's suited up.
It's
4 o'clock Sunday morning.
So wait, when you land, you immediately just put something on over it?
Oh yeah, I find the nearest phone booth in the airport.
Well, they still have those at airports. It's the only place they have them on the planet, but they still have those at airports.
That's how that he's like a lube man from Watchmen. That's how he gets through security. He just slides under the banister.
We were playing, I forgot about that guy. We were playing something akin to 20 Questions the other day. We have a game we used to do in Star Trek Club called Standard Replicator, and Jason and I do it all the time. And the other day, Conner, I stumped him with phone booth. The category was Superman, and I picked like the easiest, most mundane thing, and because it doesn't come up very much, and because he was expecting it to be something that was a lot more specific to just Superman, he could not get it for the light, and it was fantastic. Well, folks, as always, we're going to do an Ask Me Anything show after we get done with our lead-in review tonight. A lot of lead-in reviews lately. Last week, we talked about a movie that everybody but me and Connor seemed to like, Let There Be Carnage, and that was an abysmal experience for me. So much so that I felt the need to just, like, prattle on about it forever until I finally let somebody else talk. Tonight, will I'm sure be a little bit different from that, not to give away thoughts yet on the movie we'll be talking about. We're going to switch gears real hard and talk about James Bond for you. As always, if you want to ask us anything there in the comments, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that will guarantee that your topic is discussed on air, but don't feel the need to do that. We will answer as many pre-written things as possible within the next hour or two, depending on how long you guys keep us here. Sorry about the late start tonight, guys, by the way. I got stuck out at the restaurant I was at, and it took a while to get home and settled in my captainy little chair. So anyway, hey guys, I have the same news about myself that I did last week, and I promise this will not be a weekly segment on this show.
Please make it a weekly segment. That would be amazing.
I'm gonna run out of space. I don't know if you know this. I'm not a large person. I'm a small. I'm a short guy, and I don't have a lot of real estate. Like, I'm short and scrawny, and yet I'm turning into a tattooed fiend. I got a second tattoo, you guys. I could not help it. I like symmetry. So I was like, all week last week, I found myself while I was taking care of the girls, when I had a free hand, just looking up tattoos. I could not help myself. I just kept, like, scrolling on Google Images for various tattoo ideas for all kinds of different things. I just couldn't stop. And I was like, this is a problem. Like, I know I'm gonna get another one there's no way around it. Like, I just know myself. I have two brains about things a lot, where I kept on one hand going like, that's nuts, don't go get another one, you're not gonna do that. And the other brain was like, no matter what happens on Saturday, I'm getting a tattoo. Like, I know for sure I'm going and I'm getting another one. So I showed this one off last week, but I got where do I put it? Oh, right there. This is my Geekvolution tattoo. I got this 2 weeks ago, and now I have a new one. And this one will be more obscure to a lot of our viewers, but less obscure to the world at large, because this is an original icon that DJ Martinez invented for our show. Somebody on the YouTube social media post about that commented and said, just now I finally realized that it was a G. Which I think is great. I
saw that. That was amazing, and that's kind of the best compliment you could ever give a designer, that it's so well integrated. Oh man, that's great.
Because they didn't feel the need to ask what it was before. It wasn't like, what the heck is that? They're just like, I guess that's the Geekvolution logo. It looks great. Oh, it's been a G this whole time. So my other tattoo is going to be, like I said, more obscure for some of you guys, because not everybody here knows Power Rangers, and not everybody here knows Japanese kanjis. But this is the Gold Ranger symbol from Zeo. And this was the thing I finally landed on while I was looking up. I say finally, it's one of the first things I thought of and looked up, and I was like, I think that would make for a pretty sweet tattoo. Why is it easier to get this in frame? Maybe just because it's larger. But anyway, so this is the Gold Ranger symbol from that show. In the Sentai, it's the King Ranger, and so this is the Japanese kanji. It took me a while to figure this out, because I didn't know what it meant, and I thought it would make for a really cool tattoo, and then my wife was like, well, you know that's going to be a Japanese symbol. You should probably look it up and find out what the thing means that you're tattooing on yourself. Because she goes, if it means electricity, then everybody's just going to think that you're a fan of, like, the power company. So, like, don't do that. And I went, okay, I'll look it up. So I finally figured out that this was the kanji for king, because in the Sentai for Zeo, he's the King Ranger. I forget the name of that Sentai right off. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's in this peeling stage right now, so it'll look better in a couple days, but it's got a yellow trim all the way around it, real kind of subtle. And that was the thing we decided to add at the last minute. I'm glad we did it. I think it looks really cool. Because I was going to have it in just black and not do that, but the tattoo artist was like, I mean, it's not like it has to be just like the other one you got. Like, it was already a little bit bigger. By the way, the same guy tattooed both of them, which was cool. But anyway, one of the big reasons I decided to go ahead and go for this one and go ahead and get it now is that, in a weird way, it's half related to the other one. And I literally mean half, because this is the kanji for king, but it is half the kanji for captain. And I was shocked to find that out. And I could have gotten like the full 2-symbol kanji, but it would have taken up more space, and the other symbol isn't as simple as this one. And I was like, okay, so I'm half a captain, whatever. It's weird, full king, half a captain. I don't even know how that works. But that's a lot of the reason I went ahead and went with it. So anyway. Enough about my tattoo, but I just wanted to show you guys that. I've got 2 of them already, and eventually I'm gonna have at least one more, and it's gonna be elaborate, and I've had it designed already, and the tattoo guy that I took it to really liked it and wants to do it, and probably right after Christmas or right before Christmas, so a couple months I'm probably gonna get that. But anyway, thanks for indulging me on my tattoo talk.
Gotta catch them all.
Or you could do it. You could do it next week. Just
Good.
I could.
3 segments in a row.
There's more stopping me from that than with this one, because it's going to be more expensive, of course, and it's going to take longer. Although the guy swears that he can do it in 1 session, which is crazy. Like, you've seen it, DJ. He's like, yeah, I can do that in 1 session.
Yeah, you doing full color with that one?
Yeah.
Wow.
I sure
It's
am.
gonna be awesome.
So yeah, I'm not gonna. I could go ahead and reveal what that is because most of you guys won't even know it, but I'm not going to. I'll just show it to you when I get it. Anyway, let's go on now to some square off polls, some recent ones. I won't spend as much time on this as I have in the last couple of weeks because we need to move on to the review and lots of super chats pouring in and such. Although I gotta tell you, somebody said that it. Let me go back to the tattoo for a second. Somebody said that it looks like an H. Somebody did in the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid Facebook group. I posted it there. That's the Power Rangers board game. Living board game that I play, and I'm real active in that community, and I posted it there. 140 thumbs ups. Everybody thought that was really cool, and somebody commented though and totally ruined it, and I hesitate to even mention it because it's true and it almost ruins it.
Oh no!
He goes, "It looks like a gear shift."
You know, I think it's even better than that you got the gold trim on it because it looks awesome, and I think it distinguishes itself from that.
From a gear shift?
I don't know any gear shifts that have a gold trim.
That's true. That's true. Well, and what I just thought of this today. I'm gonna go back and probably comment this. I was like, well, now wait a minute. It's more like a gear shift. Looks like the kanji because like that's an old language. Like that has to predate the gear shift.
Shifting the turbo.
All right, let's look at a few of my recent Square Off polls. If you want to write your own or check out a bunch of polls there, this is a really addictive rabbit hole you can fall down answering a bunch of this or that questions. It's a lot of fun. Go to squareoffs.com, and I'm, of course, Geekvolution there. And like I said, you can make your own or take mine or take a bunch of other people's. We're going to start with the one that I posted most recently. This was today, and so it's only got 31 votes so far. If you don't like the way this is going, or you do and you want to just add to the lopsidedness, you can go check this out. Which of these soundtracks would you most likely listen to on its own? The Batman 89 soundtrack by Danny Elfman or the Begins soundtrack by Hans Zimmer? And this is going about the way I expected it to. I figured that most people would say Danny Elfman. That's got 65% so far, and Batman Begins has 35%. As much as I love that score and I love that movie, I also went with Batman Begins just on sheer number of plays for myself. I go back to the Begins soundtrack a lot just for kind of like soundtrack of my life stuff, like the mood of it kind of has always helped to center me and get me motivated to work on stuff, particularly creative stuff. So I've always used it for that. And as always, or as usual, a lot of these polls are going the opposite of the way I voted. But what would you guys say?
Begins, definitely for me.
See, I'm kind of torn. See, if I'm driving, the 89 score.
You don't want to drive to Begins. You'll start going way too fast and crashing into people.
If I'm running, Batman Begins.
Those are the only thing. The little known fact. Those are the only 2 things Connor does: is run and drive.
I don't think either of them is great to sleep to, really. All right, moving right along. Which is the better on-screen comic continuity, the MCU or the DCAU? Now, this is weirdly lopsided, and I figured a lot of people would probably vote for MCU who just either haven't seen a lot of DCAU or don't even know what that is because they're just too young. But I think I might have made a slight mistake on this where I think some people thought I was talking about the recent New 52-inspired animated continuity, even though I could have been more specific about it. I feel like a lot of us know what DCAU means, but I also put in a picture of Chris Evans staring down animated Superman from that continuity, so I thought that would be enough to make it specific, but regardless, MCU has 79% of this vote, and the DCAU only has 21%, which is a crying shame if you ask me. And once again, everybody's fighting against what I said, but 183 votes already, and that one was just from yesterday, so I expect the vote count on that to keep climbing. Now, DJ, I know that you've not seen a lot of DCAU, so you probably don't have a dog in this fight, but Connor, are you with me that's unfortunate?
Yeah, I am. I actually have never seen any of Justice League Unlimited, which I'm aware is a crime in and of itself. But growing up, when I was a kid, that's when Justice League, the first cartoon, was on. And so on Boomerang, I watched a lot of Batman and Superman, the animated series. Yeah. And I loved those shows, and Justice League was so cool to me. So I don't know. I still think as far as story quality goes, I'm in the DCAU camp.
I think just based on Batman TAS, Superman, and Batman Beyond, had I never seen any of the Justice Leagues, I would still be saying that.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't watch a whole lot of Batman Begins growing up.
Or Batman Beyond.
Batman. Wow, I watched a lot of Batman Begins. Batman Beyond.
All 2 hours of it.
I saw a handful of episodes. I always thought it was really cool. But yeah, it's been a minute since I've watched a lot of the DCAU. Superman the Animated Series is getting a Blu-ray release at the end of this month, and I already pre-ordered it, so I'm expecting to watch through all of Batman and Superman and Batman Beyond. So I think I'll be more I can speak to this with more authority come like December or something.
The standard of quality on that show is kind of unmatched. Like, I can't overall put Superman Animated Series over Batman TAS because its best episodes, I don't think Animated Superman really quite climbs to, but there's not a bad episode in that show. It's consistently always of a quality. Animation-wise and storytelling, I think.
And the voice casting is that Andrea Romano? Yeah, she did an amazing job. Like, Gilbert Gottfried as Mixel Spittle.
It's brilliant.
I mean, that's great. That's perfect casting.
Yeah, and of course she was genius with all of those. Let's do a couple more real quick. This one, of course, related to tonight's review. 77 votes. What is now the better Bond movie, Skyfall or No Time to Die? Again, not giving away our feelings yet, but this also is going about the way I expected. I thought it would be fun, whether people were liking this movie or not, just to compare it to the most popular of those. At least box office wise, and see how people felt about. So 65% saying Skyfall and 35% saying No Time to Die. That's actually even a little bit higher than I thought it might be. Do you prefer adamantium claws or bone claws on your Wolverine? I was trying to come up with a poll that I thought perhaps we would get a 0% on one side. And that's why I wrote this, and I wanted to see if anybody would say bone claws. 90% of people said adamantium, and a few people felt the need to leave comments and actually back that up. 10% out of 124 votes said bone claws, and nobody is telling us why.
Just contrarians.
There's always one. 10% means it's more than one, but not by a lot. Connor, what would you say? Would you say bone claws?
I think bone claws are stupid. That's just me. I think they look dumb.
They look terrible.
I just think, like, just on a practicality wise, it's like Wolverine already has a mutation. Why give him bone claws?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why would he have? He has like 2 mutations. Why would he Why would he get 3?
I don't know.
Yeah, most mutants are born with the one, and sometimes they'll be related things. So, like, okay, Jean Grey is telekinetic and telepathic, but it's all it's all in the brain. It's all, you know, a related power. And you could argue that the claws are sort of a related power because he needs the healing factor in order for that to even function. But it still feels really random. It's like the universe just wanted him to be able to call himself Wolverine. And that's why he has that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So anyway,
I've heard good things about Origin, but it's like it's so hard to want to read it when I don't know. Maybe if I just think of it as its own thing, but that just seems like such a stupid choice from the beginning.
Yeah, well, and when I first read Origin, I read it like its own thing. I didn't think it was supposed to be in continuity. It's kind of like Killing Joke, where it's like, oh wait, people built on this? It just seemed like its own thing. It's like, nope, Barbara Gordon has to be shot forevermore because we put that in continuity. I'm like, that doesn't feel like an in-continuity Batman story. And I felt the same way about Origin. And I always really liked Origin, but I don't think it holds up as well on reread, unfortunately. When I first read it, I thought it was just wonderful. But then I also thought that about Hush, so what do I know? Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and go on now to our how we felt about for the evening. We're going to talk a little bit, and we're going to do non-spoilers tonight. I know this is a movie that people want to hear us talk ins and outs of, and a couple weeks down the road, if you want to ask us spoiler things about this or anything else that we review on this show, feel free, but I don't want to do it the week after in case anybody happens to be watching the show tonight and is still wanting to see this movie, but doesn't want it spoiled for them, or if part of the reason that you're tuning in is to see whether Conner and I think that you should go out and spend your hard-earned money to watch this. So, Conner, why don't you go ahead and start us off? We're talking about the 5th movie in the Daniel Craig James Bond franchise. It's the last one, of course. It's his big send-off film, and it's No Time to Die. What do you think?
Do you want me to give you a quick rundown of the plot, or should I just go right into my thoughts?
Why don't you just go right into thoughts tonight, since we're already a good 20 minutes into the show?
So, I think broadly speaking, I really liked it. I think that when it comes to James Bond, I like these movies. I, at one point, was a mega fan of this when I was about 12 years old. I don't go back to the franchise.
He's so young!
I'm not as much of a mega fan as I used to be, and I've always wanted to go back and rewatch all the movies, but then I don't have the time because this is the 25th official James Bond movie. That's not counting, I believe, the 1967 Casino Royale, which is a parody of the James Bond franchise. That's not counting Never Say Never Again. So this is all of the Eon films. This is number 25. It is the final Daniel Craig movie, and it's French, so I really like it. It's weird because I would actually put the theatrical experience I had in the theater as one of the 10 best experiences I've ever had in a theater. I thought it was kind of magical, and it's a night I'm going to probably cherish for the rest of my life. I had a great time. I wouldn't call the movie great, though. I think as far as a production goes, it's insanely amazing. I know that Skyfall was shot by the great Roger Deakins, and that is widely considered the best looking James Bond movie. I think this visually outclasses Skyfall considerably. And I think that as far as a big budget film goes, I would put at least the first half of this movie from a cinematography standpoint in the likes of Blade Runner. I think there are every shot it felt like took 2 days to light. The way Jamaica looks, the way Cuba looks, the way the opening sequence is lit, and the fog and the whites and the darks, everything is so visually splendorful. I loved it. As far as the story goes, it's a pretty stock James Bond story. That being said, it is directed and acted extremely well. I think that where the movie stumbles, and this is one of those things where I was watching it, it became more and more clear that while Daniel Craig is my generation's Bond, he's not my Bond. And I think it's great that a lot of people my age and a little older, a little younger than me really love this interpretation of the character. And while I like Daniel Craig a lot and think his Bond is great, I think that just this interpretation of this character and what we've done throughout the films is not my preferred version of the character. And when it comes to the way in which this movie has to be a sequel to Spectre, with Spectre and now this, they are trying to do all of the James Bond movies starring Daniel Craig as one big saga. That's just not a direction that I really like for this franchise. And I think that if you're going to do that for this franchise, you should have sort of made that clear from the get-go. I think it's a decision that was made mid-production of Spectre is what it felt like there. And now I think that's the direction they've committed to and they're going for in this. That being said, because they have to go this direction and they have the status quo they do have coming out of Spectre, this is the way Kerry Joji Fukunaga, the director, and his screenwriters and like his crew, they handled this story as a continuation of Spectre in about as classy and elegant a way as I think they possibly could have. Is it a little too long? Sure. But it looks excellent, has great performances, particularly from Ana de Armas, and I really like Lashana Lynch in this movie. I think that the action sequences, though, are some of the best in the entire franchise. And I'm excited to see where the franchise goes next. But as far as a closing chapter, I was satisfied, and I would recommend seeing this particularly in the theater because the spectacle of it is incredible.
I'm going to echo so much of what you just said. We are in 98% agreement on this whole thing. I've got some disagreement with you, Connor, on your big negative, I think. I had a different experience with it as far as that goes. But this was finally the movie that made me remember why going to the theater is fun, because I haven't needed that in years now, and especially since lockdown. And going back to this, I was like, God, I'm glad I didn't skip this, because I would have still really enjoyed it, I think, just watching it at home. But it was, like you said, kind of a magical experience. You used a number of vocabulary words that I would put in my review as well, and had planned to, particularly classy and elegant, and magical as far as the experience goes. This, to me, felt like, and I know you like the movie I'm about to mention, you probably won't agree with this, this was Rises done right for me. And these movies, particularly from Skyfall on, have borrowed a lot from the Nolan Batman movies. And, of course, Nolan was also doing a lot of James Bond in his Batman. So it's like the relationship that America and Japan have had since 1945. They just keep, like, chasing each other and blending into each other. And one begets a thing that then begets another thing where you can't tell where one thing begins and the other one ends. Like, I'm getting to a place where James Bond and Batman are, like, the same thing, at least on screen. And it's weird. Like, there were a lot of places, you look at the beginning, especially of Dark Knight, and they do Skyhook, and I'm like, well, I know where that comes from. I've seen Thunderball, and that's the only play it invented Skyhook. And he just straight up goes Skyhook. He gets back into the airplane, and then I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, I saw Hans Zimmer's name at the beginning of this, but is he really just straight up ripping the Batman Begins score and doing the entire third act in it? Yes, he did. And it was appropriate, too. Like, I can't even totally call that a problem or a mistake or anything, except that was one of the only things that kind of took me out with this movie. I walk into this not expecting a lot because of Spectre. And I found that movie overblown and all over the place, and didn't know what story it wanted to tell. And there was a lot of talk that Daniel Craig was like rewriting that movie on the day while they were shooting, and you could tell watching it. It's meandering, it's all over the place. It's not cohesive, and it's not working toward any particular conclusion. This is the absolute antithesis to that. It knows exactly what it wants to be, where it wants to go, and I think it's doing a pretty good job of balancing the two things that this franchise has kind of been oscillating between, or arguably building toward, depending on how you want to look at it. And as we heard from Connor a minute ago, he doesn't think that they've totally stuck the landing with that whole thing. It begins as a more grounded. Hey, you heard this before with Batman, right? It's a more grounded, realistic, down-to-earth James Bond that then transforms itself as it goes along into a more traditional Bond thing. Except by the time we get here, because Skyfall is like a perfect marriage of those things, or maybe one thing starting to like evolve itself into the other, where you have the Casino Royale of it all turning into something closer to the like earliest era of Bond and the Sean Connery Bond. This is like we're going to the full extent with all of that, so that it's like taking it full circle and finally doing the real typical like James Bond villain with the big broad master plan, the big over the top like you take down the world to start it over kind of plan. Which is almost the exact same plot as Winter Soldier, and it has a lot in common also with Winter Soldier, and some of that was stuff I really liked. That I'm all over the place right now, like Spectre. But the beginning of this movie, there's a scene where some bad guys are trying to get into James Bond's car, and it's that scene right out of Winter Soldier, done I think just as well and handled by the end of it completely differently. Like I didn't know where they were going to go with that, and his way out of that situation was totally different than Fury's, and I was like, this is spectacular, this is wonderful. But I think finally we get the more bombastic James Bond movie out of this franchise, and you have that some with Spectre, but it had a difficult time figuring out its identity, and I think this one doesn't have that at all and knew how to marry those two things. But the thing I loved about it was that it was as character-driven as Skyfall is. You could argue that it would be nice if certain characters were a little bit more drawn. For James Bond movies, now that I've seen a few of these things, they're as drawn as they ever are in pretty much anything. And it's about as character-driven as it ever gets. This is on Her Majesty's Secret Service if it was the big bombastic Bond movie. And that excited me because that's my favorite on paper. Lazenby's not a good Bond, but that script is wonderful, and this has the same kind of pathos and tragedy and stuff that had, and that made me fall in love with that. And it's the same sort of character study, at least as close to a character study as you get for James Bond. So I really liked it for that. I don't agree with Connor that it's too long. I get why people are feeling that way about it, but on a first watch anyway, I was shocked by where all the time went. Like it's 2:45, 3 hours, and I was expecting a slog, and I walked in going, I don't want to sit through a movie this long. And I can't tell you the last time I've been to a theater. Maybe I'm giving too much away about myself. In the evening and not fallen asleep somewhere. Like I'm real busy with my kids and stuff all day, and I have a hard time with dark theaters and not nodding off. Didn't have that at all. It's a 3-hour movie, and I didn't begin to nod off anywhere. I was so captivated, especially by a lot of the cinematography and camera choices that Connor was talking about. Anyway, I'm certainly turning my sign green, and Connor, feel free to jump off of anything that I just said. We can have a little bit of a discussion real quick, and DJ, if you're seeing any questions right after that, go ahead and start throwing them at us.
So, very quickly, I wanted to mention that there's a shot that really stood out to me in this movie. This is just kind of isolated and just kind of its own thing, but it's very early on. It's when it's sort of picking up. It's before the opening credit sequence has even started, and it's where James Bond and Madeline Swan are in a car together and they're driving, and everything around them, like the sky and the exterior of the environment, is blown out, but it's like the light is caressing them. And it's like the way Cary Fukunaga is using light is the way most directors would use shadow. And it looks like a shot out of a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, which is something I never thought I would say to describe a James Bond movie. But you're right. It's taking something that has the heart of a Punch Drunk Love and applying it to a bombastic spectacle movie of like On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But I mean, this is obviously more bombastic than that. But yeah, I was shocked right out of the get-go from that. Anyways, that's its own isolated thing. Regarding the villain, because I know that that's sort of a thing about this movie that isn't quite as sticking to landing for a lot of people as the villain. I'm not a huge on the villain myself, but what I appreciate about this movie is that it is okay. It understands something, because I'm not a fan of the Bond girl that Daniel Craig ends up with at the end of Spectre. I think honestly, of all the Bond girls in the Daniel Craig era, she was the least interesting one.
Yeah.
And he just ended up with her, and I was like, even like Monica Bellucci had like one scene in that movie, and she was so much more interesting.
And honestly, and maybe you've seen her in other stuff, I thought one of the weaker actresses too. And this movie, I thought she really stepped it up because she had material to work with.
Yes, I would agree. And because I know that actress, she's been in a lot of like more art house movies. She's French, and I know like she was in Blue is the Warmest Color and several other art house movies that I've just not seen, but I've been aware of that actress for as long as I've been like into movies. And I'm very young, guys, I'm sorry. But the thing is, when it comes to that character, it's like the director knew you can't have a second first impression with this character, and so he kind of understands that character doesn't really have a whole lot going on, and so what he does do is fill in her backstory and give her a lot more interesting of a character arc to go on, and the villain is more tied to her than he is to James Bond, which I thought was a cool direction to take.
That's a good point.
Villain in one of these movies. So your point,
and you don't do that with Bond girls very much, where she's almost got her own side story, and then those two things converge somewhere.
It's the closest thing is Dr. No, but honestly, like because Honey Ryder's dad was killed by Dr. No, I think it's just kind of like a quick.
I've only seen that once, and I forgot about it. But yeah, that's right. Now that you say that, yeah.
And so I thought it was a pretty cool direction to take this. And I will say though that the reason why I thought this movie was a little long is that specifically, like, a lot of the first half of this movie is doing Thor Ragnarok better than Thor Ragnarok, where they're like, oh, we just want to tell this story, and the table has all of this stuff on it from the last movie. We got to clear the table. But even in doing so, they found interesting ways to clear the table. Christoph Waltz comes back. A lot of the Spectre stuff comes back. But even just as those scenes are kind of obligatory, I think they find creative ways to make those scenes interesting.
I agree. I think it's handled the way a lot of the decent Marvel Star Wars comics set just after or during the Star Wars prequels handle that stuff, where it's like we recognize all the faults and things that don't work in these movies, but we have to treat them like we have reverence for them instead of making fun of them or belittling them or something, and then almost, if it's possible, making them better in hindsight by putting in maybe the interesting stuff that should have been there in the first place. You're finding the kernel of the idea where you have that you can make anything work, you just have to make it work philosophy, and saying, okay, well, what would Lucas have had to do to make those things actually effective and interesting, and then do that without retconning anything, using the rules of improv properly. Okay, they're there, we're stuck with them, we're not going to retcon anything, we're not going to pretend like anything didn't happen, it happened just the way it happened, don't tell me it didn't happen, it happened. And then when you get into this, Spectre is handled exactly the same way, and if it's possible to make that movie better in hindsight, this movie did it. I don't know if it is, but it certainly made all those elements feel necessary and important, and I was glad to have them by the end of the day. This is a point I meant to make a minute ago. I think, and this is difficult to say for sure wholesale, because Spectre introduces a lot of characters and ideas that have to be used in this movie, but I think Casino Royale, Skyfall, and this movie are a perfect trifecta. It's a really good trilogy in and of itself. Quantum of Solace is kind of just there and never talked about again, really, and then that last movie just didn't work, and so if you watch those three together, I think you have a really good, solid trilogy. Connor, I don't know if you agree with this. I feel like even though it's clear that there's a movie you missed, this is watchable without it. I really think it is. And it's hard to say that because I've seen that movie, but I saw it once. It was a long time ago, and I didn't like it. So, like, I feel like I sort of walked into this without, okay, like, I know Blofeld's in it, and I remember his girlfriend. That's all I remember. Like,
and that's what I like about the James Bond movies is, like, okay, so what you're talking about is I get what you're saying, because I think they're okay, sorry, a lot of thoughts traveling through the mind all at once, but So Cary Fukunaga, it's clearly like when he signed on to make a James Bond movie, like anybody else wanting to make a James Bond movie, they understand that they're standalone adventures.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I have to make it sort of tied to the other one. And I think he does a good job of making it so this feels kind of like Spectre and No Time to Die at once. And honestly, like what you're talking about, where you can watch Casino Royale, Skyfall, and this as its own trilogy, because honestly, Quantum of Solace just feels like an epilogue to Casino Royale. You don't really need to watch it. And Spectre sort of feels like this awkward trying to kind of transition movie coming out of Skyfall. And you just need to know that Spectre exists. And if you've seen other James Bond movies, you probably are aware of what Spectre is, at least if you watch some of the Connery films. But no, I agree with you.
But yeah, the other thing I want to mention real quick before we wrap up is it has another just great, like, more than solid opening. It's a brilliant beginning, and it's like two scenes, which is kind of unusual. A flashback and then a present day thing that's more than slightly tied without giving anything away to that flashback. And they both would have been gripping openings, I think, on their own. But you gotta have James Bond in some kind of dire situation, the In Medias Res thing, to open your film, and it doesn't open at all like a James Bond movie, and then it has the James Bond opening. You do both, and which actually, if I want to put on my my analysis hat and maybe go too far a little bit, I could say is the movie coming right out and going, okay, we're gonna be both things. We're we're gonna be the traditional bombastic kind of silly James Bond movie at the same time as we're gonna take ourselves as dead serious as we did Casino Royale. I was like, maybe we're in for a treat, but I don't want to get too excited because the last movie also had a really cool opening, and then it all went downhill from there. And this, I had that thing where I just kept waiting for it to, it was like Wonder Woman, I just kept waiting for it to get bad, and then it never did, and I was like, oh, this is like a movie, okay, that was really exciting. I didn't throw out a lot of negatives early on, so let me just say the couple of things that most stood out to me. I am shocked I'm saying this, because this movie was a lot classier and diplomatic, I think, about the potential, political stuff that I thought it might be. It's difficult to make a James Bond movie, obviously, in the era of Me Too. That's tough, without, turning James Bond into something he isn't. And it's so classy about it. He's absolutely the character he always has been, without having to go too hard in the womanizing kind of direction. We don't change him. We don't turn him into something he's not. And I really appreciate that. We also, by the same token, don't take the new 007 and turn it into spin-off fodder, like a lot of people were really afraid we were going to do. I'm shocked I'm saying this, Connor. I needed more of that character. I liked her. She's not there enough. She doesn't get to do enough. And it seems like... It seemed like almost a course correction thing, and I don't know if it was, but it was almost like we heard some people say they were really afraid that we were just replacing James Bond, a white man, with a black woman, and we don't want people to think that that's what we're doing, so we're not going to give her anything like as much to do as we were going to. I don't know if that's true. That's how it felt. I would take that spinoff. I really liked her. I thought she was great. And if they wanted to make a new James Bond franchise, but continue this franchise on like people wanted with John Robin Blake with Rises, I would absolutely take that. And I think that was that idea done better in a lot of ways. Anyway, do you agree with that, Connor?
I do. First of all, Lashana Lynch has like 3 different pairs of sunglasses that I just wanted. She has awesome style in this movie. But this might come across as like bad. I don't. She gave me John David Washington vibe as far as how cool she was.
Oh, okay.
That's the guy from Tenet. That's the guy from Tenet.
Yeah.
Where they have a very similar kind of cool demeanor, where they do kind of have this sort of icy exterior, but they have a sort of humor and levity to them.
Yeah.
That's almost disarming. That's really fun. And they both are tall. They look like they could kill you, but you just want to hang out with them because they're so cool. As far as she goes, I wish there was a greater payoff to her being the new 007 and what that meant. That felt like an element that they realized oh, James Bond is no longer 007, but it has to be a 007 movie. What do we have some fun banter with the new 007? And they have fun banter, but the payoff for that is just kind of they realized that was an element still in the screenplay, and they went resolve that very quickly. So I don't know. I liked her a lot. I wish there was more of her, like you said. I know I was talking with Austin a little bit about this. I know he felt like he wished that there's another woman in this movie played by Ana de Armas. He wished she was the new 007. I thought she was delightful in this movie as well. But I think that I like how not streamlined that part of the movie is in Cuba, where you have Felix Leiter, a guy that could go on a mission with James Bond. He ends up sending another random woman on this mission with James Bond to go on a mission together. And then once that mission is done, she leaves the movie, and then James Bond hangs out with Felix Leiter again. Like, that could have just been Felix Leiter the whole time. It's not, but that's such a James Bond thing to have this extra character just in here for the sake of an action scene.
That's true.
I like that a lot. That felt very 60s to me.
Yeah, they just weren't afraid of any of that stuff. And how easy would it have been and this, I was talking earlier about balance. How easy would it have been to either take this movie in a direction where you just couldn't take it seriously because it got too goofy? Because I mean, the bad guy plot in this is maybe it's not the most out there we ever get, but I mean, it's a little bit silly. I will also say real quick that's another negative of mine is I don't ever fully understand what people the bad guy is exactly after. It's like, it's a little clearer in, again, I compared it to Winter Soldier. It's a little clearer what Hydra wants in Winter Soldier in the way they're trying to take control and kill a lot of people and reinvent the world. I don't totally know what people this guy is planning on killing and why, right? Like, I get some of it, but we try to do sort of a three-pronged war thing where it's like, this guy is, it's the Ra's al Ghul of it all. Like, this guy is after the same thing that MI6 is, sort of, but he's gonna use, like, really despicable ways in order to get there, and lines even they wouldn't cross, that whole thing, and so it becomes Spectre versus that guy versus MI6, and that's cool and all, but I had a better sense of what Ra's al Ghul was after. I don't totally get it with this guy.
That's kind of what made the third act a little puzzling to me. Is there's a whole reveal with necklaces. I don't want to spoil it because I don't understand it.
You couldn't if you wanted to, yeah.
I don't get that, and it's like one of those things where it's like, I understand he's planning a bad thing, and I vaguely understand because, like, you see maps where it's like, look at the destruction that's possible. So I go, okay,
they tell you precisely the number of people he's going to kill, and I'm like, but who and why? And
yeah, but I do think beyond just his wacky plot, there's enough emotional stakes, like you said, it's so character driven, that I was still invested. I still felt a little lost in, like, the semantics of the bad guy plot. Yeah,
but it wasn't enough to completely, destroy my interest in what James Bond was going through. I feel like I'm with him the whole movie. So back to the point I tried to make earlier before I sideswiped myself. So it could have either gone way too far in the super goofball direction and you just couldn't even take it seriously, and then the ending, of course, wouldn't be earned at all. Or it could have been relentlessly dark and no fun at all. And the levity is kind of perfect, I think. I do think that there's some, in the third act in particular, some lines of dialogue that go a little bit too far in a sappy direction, but that's going to be up to everybody to decide whether that's okay, because I think that this movie wants to be good melodrama before it wants to be good drama, because that's what the best James Bond movies were, going all the way back, is it's melodrama before it's, like, mainstream traditional drama, but sometimes that went a little bit too far.
I don't think it did go a little too far for me, but I do understand where you're coming from. I can definitely see.
Or it was on the verge of it.
I do want to give this movie a big props. Like, it reminded me in Blade Runner 2049 in this way, where that movie has one element like this. In this movie, there are two, where from a mile away, I knew exactly the direction these two elements were headed. And then when they got to the reveal, the movie knew you knew where it was going, so
Yeah.
they don't treat it like a big reveal. It did it twice, and I gotta give them huge respect.
It
Huge
doesn't.
respect for that.
It doesn't treat the audience like they're stupid, and it's an old school movie in that way, which I was not expecting going in.
Because Spectre absolutely treats it like you've never seen a Sean Connery James Bond movie before.
Yeah, or just a movie, kind of.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
But yeah, I really loved this, and so the whole this versus Skyfall question. The main reason I asked that was because I'm having a hard time with it because I feel like it's almost an apples oranges thing. Like they're after different things, even though one is absolutely building on the other. Like it's kind of a Begins Dark Knight thing to some degree. Like I can't pick one of those over the other either, and I think. In some ways, Skyfall is a little bit tighter narratively, and in other ways, it's not. Like, it's funny. Skyfall has the thing where I don't totally get how the villain is able to predict everything that's going to happen and use all of that. And so it has that Joker problem. In this, I actually bought everything the villain was doing. I just didn't totally understand what his goals were.
That's a good point. Of the two, I don't know which one I prefer. I have not seen Skyfall in a very, very long time. Like I said, I meant to watch through all the other James Bond movies before, all the other James Bond movies before watching this one. But it's October, so I had a bunch of horror movies to watch and The Sopranos. So I didn't get a chance to. But now, when all these come out on 4K, I'm going to just watch all of these in a marathon. I'm excited to do so.
Yeah, after this, I feel like it's going to be a really different experience going back to some of those other movies. Well, we've... sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, just sorry. I just had a gag to say.
Oh, go ahead. That's fine.
I can't remember now. It's so fine. It's not worth it.
That's fine. So, yeah, we've spent too long on this. We need to move on. We're almost in an hour. Let's go ahead and start taking some questions. DJ, if you see anything about this movie, let's go ahead and tackle those real quick, and then we'll go to whatever you guys want to talk about, as always.
We've got a super chat from The Day Ghost. He says, I really like No Time to Die. I just needed it to be better than Spectre, but it was great. It's my 6th favorite James Bond movie. Also, I like the song, but I wish they had used the rejected Penny Reckless song 25 instead. And then he puts another super chat and says, I meant Pretty Reckless. I'm paying to be a fool.
Thanks, Austin, for that super chat. Really appreciate it, buddy. How did you feel about the song?
I liked it. I think that the Sam Smith song from Spectre sucks. So I just needed this to be better than that. Billie Eilish is an artist that I respect more than I like. She just doesn't make music I really listen to, but I understand that there is a craft there. And she did a good job making a James Bond song.
I felt the same way about Adele with Skyfall, right? Like, that's not music I listen to, but that's a great song.
I will say there's a history of great rejected James Bond songs. I'm curious to know what the rejected James Bond song for this is, because Radiohead's rejected theme song for Spectre is awesome. I get why they didn't use it. It doesn't sound James Bond at all, but It's a really cool song.
Yeah, I liked it just fine in the theater. I've only listened to it that one time. This isn't one of those things where I went and heard it a bunch of times before the theater, like everybody did with Skyfall, because that was like one of those, big top 40 kinds of things. Like, I don't know how you stayed away from that song when that came out. It was like freaking Frozen or something. But I think it was around the same time as that, wasn't it? But anyway, yeah, I thought it was fine. I will say I felt like it was a more somber Skyfall. Like, they were clearly going for something in that vein to some degree.
Yes.
And we got another super chat from Mr. Josh Galisano.
Real quick before we move on, let me comment on the other part of his message real quick and just say that I don't know where I rank it because I haven't seen enough of the James Bond movies. But I will say that I know Austin went back and watched through a lot of those, and I don't know if you saw all of them again before going to this. But Connor, you were saying that you had planned on rewatching the Craig movies before you went to this. If you'd rewatched all of them, you get rewarded for doing that too.
Yes, you did.
Which is really cool. I'm sorry, DJ. Go ahead with the next super chat.
Speaking of that, Josh Galisano says, I prefer Bond to be standalone adventures, although I'd love to see a serialized Bond on TV or streaming that serves as more faithful adaptations of the books. By the way, thought this film was a fun time in the theater.
What's nice about this franchise is that it was always going to at some point have an ending, even if they didn't know what exactly that was going to be. And I never got the sense that, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't know what they're going to do with the next one, but I never got the sense that the idea was this is how James Bond movies always have to be done now, where we have to like actually straight up reboot the franchise. Maybe they'll do exactly that again next time. I know Eric really wants them to just go back to the old loose continuity and start making movies like that again. And I know a lot of James Bond fans feel that way. I didn't grow up with Bond as hard as some of you guys did, so I don't have a dog in that fight real hard, but I totally get the sentiment that we don't want Bond to have to be like every other franchise where it's always its own closed continuity, and this isn't really what Bond's about ultimately as far as a franchise goes. But I feel the same way I did about it with Batman, going back to that again with Nolan's Batman, where Nolan wasn't trying to make the definitive Batman, he was trying to make his version of Batman, and I feel like that's kind of what you have here with these guys in Bond. The difference, of course, is you have some different creators working on some different movies, but like my Batman isn't a Batman who ever wants to hang up the cape, and Nolan's Batman was that. Like, there are fundamental differences in how he sees that character versus how I see that character, and this is exactly the same way. It's not the definitive version, it's just a version. So that's why I can be won over on that, and was with this. But I don't know how you feel about that, Connor.
Yes, and that's what I was saying earlier, where this is not my preferred interpretation of the character, but I think they did a good job just crafting a solid, entertaining action movie with a character I did care about.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is all the ones specifically pertaining to Bond. Shall we move on?
Absolutely. Connor, thanks for talking to me about that. And as I know we spent more time on it than we were going to, but there's a lot there to unpack. And I feel like, personally, without tooting my own horn, we did a decent job unwrapping that as much as we did without spoiling anything important.
I agree. And I will say, I hope the next person who plays Bond plays him exactly 3 times, just to satisfy my fixation. Because Lazenby played him once, Dalton played him twice, nobody's played him 3 times, Brosnan played him 4 times, Craig's played him 5 times, officially Connery played him 6 times, and Moore played him 7 times. So just to satiate that gap.
So the next guy needs to either play him 3 times, or he needs to be cast as Bond at 18 and play him 8 times.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
That's hilarious. I didn't even think of that. All right, let's go ahead and move on to some other stuff. If anybody wants to ask us more things about that movie in Super Chats, don't hesitate, and we'll totally tackle those tonight. Please keep spoilers out of it. We're not going to talk about the ending or anything, but if you guys want to bring that up in a couple weeks, I can totally speak to that then, assuming I still remember it. But I like this movie a lot, so I'm sure the major stuff should stick with me, hopefully. Anyway, sometimes I have that I've slept since then syndrome. Okay, DJ, what do folks want to talk about? And again, Super Chats, if you want to make, we got an hour left. If people want us to go that long, Super Chats, if you want to make sure that your question gets talked about, we'll try to do some pre-written stuff as well. And thank you so much to everybody who has done and is doing that this evening. Go ahead, Mr. DJ.
All right. Well, Lewis Cox put in at the beginning of the show just $2. Hey, Cap, DJ, and Connor, how are you guys doing? But I feel like we answered that. We did like a little catch-up at the beginning of the show. So thanks so much for the donation.
Thanks, man.
Lewis.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Roboto, Cap, you could get the Batman Beyond bat on your chest.
There's a lot of things I could do, but it's. I think the old adage is true that just because this was, this came from the beginning of Star Trek VI, just because you can do a thing does not mean that you should do that thing. Yeah, probably not going to get anything on my chest. One problem, and I know people are probably really tired of the tattoo talk, so I'll move on. But one problem with the tattoo thing for me is I am just too hairy. Like, I've got too much hair on my arms and my legs, and there are only so many places it even makes sense to put a tattoo. So yeah.
Let's get away from the tattoo talk and go into Cap's hair talk.
I didn't know how else to put that.
Well, you said that the tattoo thing's been 2 weeks in a row. What I want to be the continuing tradition here is that Connor, right after we finish this, has to sprint out the door and go to the theater to watch the movie that you guys review on the next Captain Logan show.
Wait, is that also happening tonight?
No, that's what happened last night.
No, I know, but I thought maybe that was also happening tonight. Connor, are you leaving to go see a movie?
I am going to go watch Halloween Kills tonight, so...
Maybe so.
Oh, I also need to see that. We probably will cover that on the show next week. I didn't realize that was this week. Yeah, I am going to see Halloween Kills, because I reviewed the first one, and the first one, the rebooted second one, that's actually the 9th one. So, can we talk about Halloween for just a minute? I showed my son Halloween for the first time, Jason, because he's been wanting to see horror movies. He's 11. I felt like that was a pretty good introductory slasher movie. Of course, it's kind of the introductory slasher movie, but I mean, for a kid that age, I thought he could probably handle it. There's a little bit of nudity and stuff, but it's not super crass, and I warned him about it going in. He was fine, I think, with that and the violence and everything. He was not remotely scared. And some of that might just be, you know, it's a dated 1978 movie. Like it's wonderfully well shot and everything. But even a kid that hasn't grown up on horror movies, I think, can't help but be desensitized if you let them watch anything on television at 7 o'clock at night. And he said he really liked it, but his response was, "That was fun," and that was his review. So. It was. I wish I'd recorded some of his reactions though, because it was fun. Yeah, he kept like complaining about things that then characters would question themselves. So like the psychiatrist at the beginning, you know, they're after like they lose Mike Myers or Mike Myers. That's Austin Powers. They lose Michael Myers, and he
Cat in the Hat movie is way scarier than any horror movie.
He gets in a car and he drives off, and Jason's like, "Wait, he was 5 when he got incarcerated. How can he drive a car?" And then the psychiatrist immediately after that is like, "How's he driving a car?" You know, so like they actually question these things. I'm like, no, it's a little bit of a smarter movie than you're expecting.
I will say that's a good movie to show an 11-year-old, because for myself, that was one of those movies I felt like I had seen before I actually seen it, because I knew everything about it before I actually watched it, just through cultural osmosis.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and Jason really hadn't heard much about it. He managed to keep away from that. But he doesn't know a lot of people that talk about horror movies, besides Eric. But, yeah, so he had not heard a lot. So, yeah, I am curious about that next one. I thought the last one was pretty good. But I also don't know that Halloween has any more legs than it's ever had. I really feel like that right now, where I'm like, do I really need to see that again? I don't know. I guess I'll see how that goes, but I feel more that way about Scream after seeing that trailer, but maybe that'll come up. Maybe somebody will ask about that. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, Slipmaker, who is not a name I'm immediately
welcome.
used to reading on the show. Any thoughts on the Emperor Joker arc of Superman?
That rings a bell. Connor, help me out.
I don't know.
Quick, Kareem. Oh,
is Kareem in there? Is he around? Because yeah, he'll probably know what you're talking about. I don't remember right.
Isn't that a comic book story arc?
That's what he's saying. He said that arc in the comics. I don't know that I've ever read that. I'm getting a flash to what Joker looks like in that story, but I can't speak to it right now. I don't know that I've ever read it. I'm sorry about that. Thanks so much for the super chat, though.
Yeah, thanks, man. TH1, $2. DCAU/Timverse, not the DCAMU. Come on, people.
Now, to be fair, I have never heard that acronym for those movies. I've never heard anybody acronym that whole thing, because I've not heard a lot of people talk about the New 52 inspired universe, and nobody cares. And nobody cared about it as a universe for a lot of its run. I feel like the back third does a lot more like actual honest to god decent continuity stuff where it matters that they've made movies before, and some of those movies don't suck, which is exciting, but that last movie is a straight up total continuity thing. Like it's nice if, and you don't necessarily have to have, but it's nice if you've watched any of the like introductory movies when you get to that last one, which is a big event thing, and it's like a bookend for Flashpoint. They unflashpoint Flashpoint in that movie, and it actually felt like it had a little bit of weight to it, and it was also just fun. So I'm glad that it's so weird. I hated it for all the years it was there, and then it had a really solid ending, which I just couldn't even get my mind around. But yeah, I don't remember anybody ever giving that a name and calling it anything. And DCAU has been kind of the solid term for that for the longest time. I don't mean to accidentally acronym shame anybody, because not everybody, pays attention to the like geek speak lingo stuff, and I get annoyed when people do nothing but speak in acronyms. But they only give you 100 characters for those for the square off full titles. So
Tom is used to being acronym shamed. T-Edge1 gives another one. Have you seen any Squid Game yet?
Not
If
yet.
So,
I was gonna go ahead and watch the pilot of that last night, and I ended up in the middle of the day today, I had a few minutes and I started watching a show, and I ended up not being able to finish it. Connor, I did watch the first 2/3 of the pilot for Y the Last Man, and I need to hopefully, I was hoping to finish that before the show so I can at least talk about that first episode a little bit. So I won't get into it much here because I didn't finish it, but overall I like what I've seen so far. So it seems like the right direction, maybe, or it could totally screw up at the end of that episode somehow, but I thought it was all right, and I didn't mind it commenting on modern day politics and things the way it's doing, like I thought I might, because it doesn't feel pandery about it at all, and it really is dealing with both sides of issues and stuff, and it's kind of making the argument that Y the Last Man could potentially be an even more interesting story told now instead of what was that 2004, when that started, when Vaughn started writing that back in the early 2000s, because of how politically divided we are and because of the Me Too movement and all of that. Unless you make it a period piece, you have to talk about that stuff in Y, and I don't mind that they're doing that.
I remember when we talked about that first volume, you said I think this should be talked about in every gender studies class, because I think the way it examines gender hierarchy, if you believe in such a thing or not, it does a good job of just examining that concept. And I think doing that post 2017 is absolutely what you need to do with that show. So you have me interested in checking it out now.
Yeah, it's dealing with cancel culture and how that relates to how we're raising boys and things like that. I mean, it's interesting. I'm glad we're talking about that stuff, and it doesn't feel like it's only for one audience or like it's trying to win any brownie points with anybody. And I only bring that up. I know I talk about that a lot, but a lot of things feel like they're doing that now. And if we have to go into politics, it can't just be. Because sometimes people will kind of call me out and be like, well, Cap, you don't want anything to be political. And I'm like, no, I just don't want anything to tell me how to think or how I'm supposed to think already. That's the difference. And something that is about politics is different than something that is propaganda. And this, at least in the first 40 minutes, does not strike me as propaganda, which I really appreciate. So
it's amazing what happens when people who don't write for the CW write politically motivated fiction.
Yeah, exactly. Or politically curious, or you know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways to approach something that has politics in it. Anyway, go ahead, DJ.
Anyway, Squid Game. We got there from Squid Game.
Yeah, because I watched another thing instead of Squid Game. I would like to check that out. It sounds intriguing.
I cannot get anywhere without. Holy crap! Squid Game is everywhere. It's like the new Stranger Things. Everyone's talking about that.
Well, and it's even more popular than that was, according to Netflix. They claim, and I say they claim because they don't publish their numbers until they're really, really good, and then they tell you what they claim they are. So I don't know if I trust it. Call me cynical. But they claim that Squid Game has been watched by 11 million different accounts, and that tops anything they've ever had. So, if you buy that, then it's the most popular thing they've ever had.
It's crazy. And then his other part was, any thoughts on Holland's latest interview alluding to, I don't know what he's about to say, so maybe if you don't want to know spoilers, I don't know what he's about to say. I'm about to read it for the first time.
Oh goodness, okay.
No Way Home.
Oh yeah, and we have to be worried about that with Holland, for the record. Because this is a guy who's spoiled major things in the past, and is kind of notorious for that.
I have to read this because it's a super chat, so don't get mad at me in the chat. Mute yourselves. Any thoughts on Holland's?
You have really put yourself in a don't shoot the messenger kind of role, DJ.
That's all I am, guys. His latest interview alluding to No Way Home being the finale of the MCU Spider-Man films. Finale is what he meant to say. Great show tonight, guys. All right, I'm off to bed.
Okay, sorry, you cut out a little bit for me there. Would you? Yeah, bye. I hope you looked at this later. Enjoy. So, go back and reread this the first part of that. So, what was Holland alluding to? Apparently.
Any thoughts on Holland's latest interview alluding to No Way Home being the finale of the MCU Spider-Man films?
I had not heard that he'd said that, but I have been hearing rumors about that potentially being the case. I don't know if we can take any stock in that. Honestly, even if they advertised it that way, I wouldn't trust it. Connor, like, we had that big scare a couple years ago, that they had broken that the contract was done and they weren't going to be able to use Spider-Man anymore, and that Sony was going to get the rights back and they were going to make their own Spider-Man movies again, like without, because I realize they make these, but without MCU. So even if they announced it, I wouldn't trust it. They could renegotiate a contract or come back and do another contract down the road. Anything is possible now. Nothing surprises me. I could see the rights reverting back completely to Sony. Sony, that's not the right way to put it. Sony still has the rights. I could see that relationship ending. Sony making their own Spider-Man movies, it crashes and burns, and then they go back begging and pleading Marvel to make more Spider-Man movies. I mean, I could see anything happening. So even if that's the case, who knows down the line what ends up happening.
I agree. I saw a headline. I did not actually read the interview, so don't shoot the message. I guess I'm going to go on a whole thing without actually having read the article, which is what I hate when people do. So I'm going to be the thing I hate right now. But what I saw was it said that they were making this as if they weren't going to make any more. And so that's just something a lot of people say when they make a franchise. Because I know, like, Christopher Nolan talks about when they made Batman Begins, they didn't know they were going to make The Dark Knight. And when they made The Dark Knight, they didn't know they were going to make Dark Knight Rises. And they just made Dark Knight Rises the last one because he didn't want to make any more after that. And so when it came to this, it's like, he says, we were lucky enough to make 3. And I guess to a certain point, he's right because of the way the contracts work. So there's no, I guess, guarantee they will re-up after this contract is over. But I don't know. You're right. I'm kind of in your corner of I wouldn't be surprised by anything moving forward.
And that's not me being skeptical to the point of saying no, it'll never happen. No, I think that could happen too. I think it could be the last one, or it could be, or they could make another one 3 years from now. Who knows? I will say, if it's true, this is probably more of the question you were asking. If it turns out that it's actually true, obviously I'm going to be disappointed, especially if we don't get enough done with that character in this movie. And I don't know how you could. I don't know how you could possibly get enough done with Tom Holland's Spider-Man in another 2 hour or two hours plus Spider-Man movie that also includes characters and other Spider-Mans from other franchises to my satisfaction, because this is a guy that we started as a teenager, as a young teenager, with the assumption everybody made, of course, was, well, here's a guy that you cast young enough that you can finally kind of serialize your Spider-Man stories more, even though it's movies, and get him to, an adult place later and finally do the kind of, novel on film thing that's just natural for Spider-Man. And then you got that second movie, and it, like I've always said, it felt like kind of an interlude story, and I was like, we are wasting time, man. Like, say that I'm asking for too much, like, plot twisty nonsense and stuff, but, like, at the very least, kill off a major character in your second movie or something, give Peter Parker a tragedy that he has to deal with moving forward, and beyond, everybody knows his secret identity, especially since we all knew that the very next thing they were going to do was find some way around the secret identity thing, more than likely. And I mean, that is what they're doing. They're at least playing it for a dramatic beat, which is nice, but, like, where's the Parker luck exactly with this guy? You know, like, what villains has he really created himself? And what characters has he gotten killed? And, you know, I mean, as I always say, you don't have to do exactly what comics did, but there's just not a lot of real dramatic weight to the stories we've told so far with this character. The closest you got so far, in my mind, is the third act of that first movie. You know, Peter Parker finds out that his girlfriend is, or his would-be girlfriend is the daughter of the big bad guy. That's classic Stan Lee stuff. That's great. But you gotta, and then, like, he almost gets crushed on a thing that's coming down on him, while the bad guy is gonna just let him die, and he's just a kid, and he's gotten himself in over his head. That's great. That's wonderful dramatic stuff. That's as excited as I've gotten for the actual character stuff with that guy. And then they kind of play that beat again when he dies in Infinity War. But we know all these characters are coming back because we've been told that there's another movie. So it will be ultra disappointing if that's his last outing as that character.
Yeah,
I agree.
just get so sad every time we talk about Spider-Man these days. Raptors go roar.
Yeah, they do.
With $2.
Welcome back.
He says, I believe it's rar grr rar. Exclamation point. Rar? Sorry, I didn't read that with your
I don't have time to read up on Raptor Speak in order to read your super chats. Because last time he also left a super chat in Raptor Speak, and like I'm not. First of all, I'm not good at languages and learning them, but I just don't have time. But I'd love to.
And a language that consists only of one word would probably be very hard to learn.
Yeah, it's like the haze and the what's and the tick.
I am shocked and offended by that comment, sir. Please.
Wait, why do you know how to speak Raptor and I don't? Like, I feel like a bad Raptor fan not knowing this language. But you know it. You're not even a Raptor guy.
Have you seen the life-size Raptor costume guy walking around at Universal Studios that they have now? You know how they have guys in like superhero costumes walking around Universal Studios? A commercial came on while we were watching TV last night, and there's a Raptor that just walks around. It's Cap's dream. He would love it.
He's just blue, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we're not allowed to do any other Raptors but just that one. So, sorry, I'm going to sidetrack us for a second. You guys want to hear my cynical theory about blue? I have a cynical theory about this.
Cap's thoughts.
So, in Jurassic World, everybody hear me out here. Jurassic World, we had 4 raptors, and they were all different colors, and they were all being trained by what's his face, Owen in that movie, right? And 3 of them have to get killed at the end of that, and Blue is the only one left. And then that's all the marketing and all the merchandise and everything after that. Blue is everywhere. It's not the Jurassic Park Raptors anymore, it's Blue. Because we have to have a, like, singular character that's cute that everybody latches onto. We can't just have, like, cool, scary raptors anymore. Blue still does raptor-y things, but, like, it's this is going to sound sexist of me, but, like, it's got to be a girl raptor, and she's blue, and she's cute, and, like, they just... And I guess they were always girls, so that's a stupid thing to say, but, like, I forgot about that momentarily. They're all girls, whatever. They're all female. But I just feel like they're making a big deal out of, look, we have a cute raptor.
Yeah, it's Universal. They make the Minions movies. We need to have a Minion in our Jurassic World franchise.
Yeah. I have a theory about that. They had 4, and they kept the blue one because that's the color of the Jurassic World logo, and they want synergy and they want it to match. Tell me I'm wrong. Fight me.
Well, I mean, if that was probably from a script level, and the logo was probably made later, right?
And I'll tell you why. Because Jurassic World, the movie, has a blue logo, and they had 4 Velociraptors. So it's even more cynical if you're right, because it means that they always intended to kill off all 3 of them, but her at the end of the movie when they made that logo for that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That would make it even worse.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, the script's usually made before the logo would be made.
You know, it would be the mother of all coincidences.
You could be, yeah, you could be right, but that would mean that they made the logo blue in the first place because the one they kept was blue at the end.
Well, they don't have to be related. You're assuming that these things are related.
No, I'm saying if I'm right, that's what they did. I don't know if I'm right, but
what if the one with the red stripes was alive at the end? Then they were like, cha-ching, the logo for the next one will be red. Who's got it?
Blue Dragon 5 says that it's a stretch, but I thought of that and I can't stop thinking about it, and I think I might be onto something. I don't know. Anyway, moving right along. I've been wanting to insert that somewhere for, like, weeks now.
Awesome. Thanks, Raptors Go Rar. You really made us day. Mr. Roboto, have you heard the current Spawn news from McFarlane?
What Spawn news? There was something...
I don't know.
There was a thing about the movie. I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't remember now. Yeah, there was something. I always tune that stuff out until we finally get like a trailer and stuff. I'm so tired of him talking about that movie until it like actually gets made. There's an actual writer rewriting his script. I know that. Is that what you're talking about? That's all I remember.
Mm. I don't have him on the line right now, but I can see what I can do. Hawk Flame 499.
Hi, Hawk Flame.
Are you expecting or anticipating anything from DC Fandome this weekend?
Yeah, not anything in particular. I'll echo something that I think Austin said when I was talking to him the other day. I think it was Austin that said this. It would be really cool if Fandome actually like announced a project we don't know about as far as movies or TV or something goes, and it's not just like little tidbits and like concept art and new trailers or bits of trailers. Like they've been teasing a bunch of stuff about more information they're going to give us about movies we know about already. But I'm hoping that it's, well, I say this so. I'm hoping that it's kind of like that event, a couple years ago where we got all that Star Wars and Marvel news, except with DC, I won't trust that all the things that they say are going in production are actually going in production. However, remember when we were going to have like 4 Harley Quinn movies? But to their credit, it has been a while since they've just randomly thrown out, we're making like all of these random movies that are probably never going to get made. It seems like they've gotten a little bit smarter and hipper about that, maybe. So if they announce anything new in Fandome, I think that there's a reason to take more stock in it this time than there has been in the past. Dan's and I are planning on doing a coverage show on that on Sunday night live, so look forward to that. That's still the plan right now. If it changes, I'll let you guys know. And if for whatever reason we can't get together and do that on Sunday, my life is so up in the air right now. If it doesn't work out, then we'll cover it some next Thursday, of course. But we're planning on right now doing a show 24 hours after Fandome happens. But Connor, does anything leap out at you? Like, I really hope that they deal with this or anything.
That first DC Fandome was really cringe, if you ask me. Aside from Matt Reeves talking about Darwin Cook, which was the best thing ever, I kind of thought that whole experience was a total L, and
Wait.
Speaking of hip lingo, guys, can I be on DC Fandome now? But I don't know. I'm sure they'll just like show a trailer for Peacemaker or Peacemaker.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. But I'm excited for another trailer for The Batman. Other than that, I did not like last year's thing, so I'll probably just look at the headlines to see what trailers is being shown, and if they announce any cool like comics.
Wait, Connor, was it more cringe than Dun Dun?
What are you talking about?
Did you guys watch that Netflix's Fandome event that they literally called Dum Dum?
No. Oh no, did they really? That's amazing.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest, DJ. I completely forgot about that, and I was like, "Why is he making the Netflix noise?"
I'm glad.
Oh, it was the Netflix noise.
I did not watch that.
It was basically Stranger Things season 4, Ozark season 4, and Tiger King 2. There you go.
So what more could you possibly do with Tiger King? Is it gonna be what's her face has done since she took over the park? Is that what it is?
Didn't they already make a reunion special though?
Yeah,
they made a
did, like, next
lockdown
episode.
thing where they all talked over Zoom.
Yeah.
That's all that was.
But this is a whole season 2, man.
And
In
apparently,
December.
I heard a rumor the
I
other
don't know
day
what it's gonna be.
that they're making a dramatized movie. Is that true?
No, that got canned.
Oh.
They were gonna have Nicolas Cage playing Joe Exotic, and then he said that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be
Why does
amazing.
And he said that it just stopped developing. It didn't really go anywhere.
Boo.
Yeah.
Why can't we have anything good in this
I
world?
wonder if that's because everybody was talking about it for 30 days and then everybody forgot it was a thing after that.
Yeah, that was like COVID saved that thing. That would have been nothing if it wasn't for lockdown. I don't know what a season 2 is going to do these days. But speaking of kind of biopic type things, have you guys watched the test footage that a guy posted on YouTube for like kind of like an audition to be like he was just posting test footage of him as Robin Williams
For a Robin Williams biopic, yeah. And I saw it out of context. So Blue Dragon 5 sent it to me and I didn't know what it was and I just watched it and I assumed that it was a movie that was actually being made.
It
And
looks so good. Yeah.
that it was, I was like, I don't know why Warner is releasing test footage to announce a project. And then I thought maybe it was like a project that they've actually been planning on doing, and this guy found out about it and was like, why do a perfect Robin Williams impression? It looks sort of like him. What if I did that? The production value on it is spectacular. Like, it looks like a scene from a movie. It looks like it could be a scene from a movie. And the writing is okay. But he's spectacular. He nails it. And if they ever make that, he definitely should be the guy, I would think, just based on that 5-minute clip.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I hope that gets. That'd be so cool if that got a ball rolling. Like a studio saw that and made a movie just because of that. That's really cool.
It really would. And these days you'd think that would happen more often than it tends to, but in this particular case, it really should. He's
that happened
close.
with the guy who did the singing for that Queen biopic. Like he just got a really popular video on YouTube where he did Bohemian Rhapsody, like just with him and a piano a cappella. And I guess that's not a cappella, but just in the piano. And he got
That would be unplugged, DJ. Unplugged is the
actually
word you're looking for.
in the movie. So yeah, YouTube's real.
But yeah, this was this guy playing Robin Williams in the dressing room while he's getting ready to go on stage for an episode of Mork and Mindy and finding out that John Belushi dies. That's the setup for that, and his mannerisms are spot on. It's really good. It's eerie how good it is. And it's also eerie, the writing, because I feel like there's some intentional subtext in his talking about it's like I think his girlfriend. I'm not sure who the woman is because I'm not up on Robin Williams' history well enough. But she's talking about how like if he dies prematurely or would ever take his own life or something, like she would kill him before he could do that, and like that's all clearly intentional. And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it was so cool how they got like in 5 minutes he got the full range of his impression of him, like all the range of Robin Williams in that little 5-minute clip.
And it was honestly a little much, to be honest with you, but it was like just as a scene, like you wouldn't want that to be a scene in that movie.
Yeah, but just as like a test, yeah.
Yeah.
It is pretty crazy. My ex-wife is a cow. To completely change the subject.
He's back.
Is Jason going to vote on the new mob at Minecraft Live this weekend?
So,
if so, which mob does he want to win?
So I heard something about there being an event about that. I haven't talked to Jason about it, and I don't play Minecraft, so I hear my kids talking about Minecraft and something called mobs all the time, but I don't know what that even means. So yeah, I don't know. And I could ask him, but I still won't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, Connor's young, but he's not that young. He has no idea either. Mr. Roboto.
And Connor's played a video game. It was at my house, but he has played a video. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's not even
Mr.
fighting
Roboto.
me on this.
No.
Connor grew up with some video games. He did.
I may as well have only played one video game in my life. It was called Paperboy 64, and it was great. Let me tell you what.
Gun to your head, which do you become? Venom or Bloodshot?
So, have you guys noticed that people are putting guns to my head on the show a lot?
It's a new segment.
You know what? That's a really interesting question. What a weird combination of characters to throw in there. Connor, I'm not sure what I would say, because I think it depends on whether it's movie Venom and whether I'm compatible with Venom. Right?
Movie
Like
Venom would be so
that's hard.
annoying.
If I'm Bloodshot, I'm probably at least surviving for sure. I don't know that necessarily with Venom, and I don't want it to be movie Venom, particularly after that second one, because I don't want to listen to that voice all day long. Look, just be Bane or don't be Bane. Okay, pick one. But yeah, what would you pick, Connor? That's a toss up for me.
Who's Bloodshot?
We did that. We
that's
reviewed it. It's
okay.
I'm asking you specifically because we've talked for at least 25 minutes about this character.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I forgot all about that.
It was like a genetic engineering something. He's got powers. I think, was he dead and they revived him, or was he almost dead? I don't remember. I don't know how that whole thing worked.
I'd rather be an undead nanobot zombie than have Tom Hardy talking in my ear with a Cookie Monster filter constantly. So,
don't bash the Cookie Monster filter. That is a part of the channel.
Hey,
C is for chocolate. It's good enough for me.
If it was Captain Logan talking in my ear with a Cookie Monster voice, I would much prefer that, because I think his observations would be a lot more clever than Tom Hardy.
Oh, chocolate starts with C. You know, I really thought you were going somewhere different with that. I thought you were going to say Venom, because you'd rather be a character you've heard of than a character you had reviewed but didn't remember.
Yeah, I love that you didn't remember when you guys were the only people I heard talking about it.
You made me spend money on that movie!
That's right. Look, the pandemic's been very long, all right? And the only thing I remember about that movie, really, is that the pandemic killed it. It was like it came out the weekend everything started shutting down.
Yeah, that's what Vin Diesel says too. The pandemic killed it, guys.
Yeah, clearly that
safety.
I think it lost $2 over the pandemic. Connor and I rented that, and it was the first thing that we had to watch that way.
What a delight.
It was. It really was. And then you know what the next thing was after that? I want to say it was New Mutants.
Yeah, we did New Mutants and Bill and Ted, right? That was all three at the exact
But
same
actually,
time.
New Mutants was actually got released in the theater. It was one of the few things that did. It was when everybody was on the cusp of, like, are we over the line? Like, are we going to put things in the theater or just release them digitally? And that movie actually did get released just in theaters, which is why it made $19.
That is true. That is true.
All right. Shall we move on to CM Productions?
Yes.
If a Geekvolution Civil War happened, who would be the crazy dictator and who would be on Team Cap? Wow, he's showing his feelings about Civil War. And who would be Team Dan? Are there three teams?
Wow!
Great show, guys. Who would be the crazy dictator? Who would be on Team Cap? And who would be Team Dan? So we know who the Civil War is. Great show, guys.
I was going to say, maybe we're assuming our politics a little bit, but I guess the idea is me or Dan is the crazy dictator. I mean, I could be power hungry. I don't know.
I think he's saying pick three people. Who would be the crazy dictator? Who would be on Team Cap? And who would be Team Dan?
Oh, yeah.
Or, I can't. Is there a crazy dictator in the comic Civil War? Because there's not really in the movie.
No, I'm not totally sure what he means by that. But yeah, as far as like who would back what horse, I don't know if I even want to attempt that, because I would need to know what the ideological conflict was. You know, would it just be over like differences that Dan and I have in opinions on like comics and superhero movies and stuff? Is it just a like
Dan wants all YouTubers to have to register before they can say whatever they want on the channel, and Cap's the man of the people, and he wants YouTubers to.
Because I really doubt that either of us would have that. But
yeah, I don't know why you went with Cap and Dan.
Yeah, I'm really not sure.
We know Dan's news would be on Team Dan.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Sure. Well, that means I'm going to lose. We're just going to put all the
Dan's
Dans together, and then you have to be named Captain or Logan. So, pretty screwed there. Hey, I don't do this a lot, but I'm going to have to this evening. Give me like 2 minutes. I got to run off and take care of something. DJ, feel free to answer some pre-writtens if you want to, or you and Connor, feel free to just go off on whatever tirade you feel like going off. And give me just a couple minutes. I'll be right back. And I apologize for doing this on a show with my name in it. I'll be right back.
Oh, here we go. This is good for us, Connor. Daniel Davis. Are there any genres you just can't get into no matter what?
Well, I think DJ's going to know where I'm going to go with this. I can't do screwball comedy. I'm not talking like Pineapple Express and look how wacky people are. I'm talking...
That's pothead comedy.
Yes. I like...
Or whatever. There's a word for it. I don't know what it's called.
I think the only screwball comedy that I've watched that I've actually liked is called The Awful Truth. It has Irene Dunn and Cary Grant. Criterion put out this beautiful release. But
you need to watch His Girl Friday because it's amazing. Buy that in November. I'm going to make sure you buy it in November.
I will. I'll have faith in you there.
And I don't know if Philadelphia Story is technically a screwball comedy, but it's also great.
Yeah, screwball is like that kind of older, for anyone listening that might not know, it's kind of an older form of like romantic comedy where usually it's about a guy who's a stick in the mud, played by Cary Grant most of the time, and some kind of crazy ditzy character shows up and ruins everyone's lives, and you're supposed to like find them endearing somehow. That's what Bringing Up Baby is, and I hate this movie. I hate it so much. But it's on the AFI Top 100, so I got it.
You still bought it. Yeah, I can't wait till we do. If you're not watching in the Welder channel, we have a show called Criterion Corner where we go through Criterion movies, and I can't wait till we get to that one because that'll be a fun conversation. I don't love it or anything, but compared to Connor, it probably sounds like I do because he hates it. Speaking of which, we just shot a Criterion Corner while he was here on an awesome movie called Diabolique, which is great. I'm going to try to get that up as soon as I can.
Awesome. And this one also was by Criterion. They put out, this is the 4K restoration on this. This is a 2K scan of a 4K restoration, but the reconstruction is gorgeous. I just wish I liked this movie at all.
For me, the genre, well, I kind of uncovered a new one this weekend. I was going to say horror, but that's not true, actually, because there are some horror movies I like. I like Cabin in the Woods. I like what's that one I just watched this year that takes place at New Year's?
Phantom Carriage.
Phantom Carriage is awesome. I love Psycho, and I just watched The Invisible Man, which is so good. How is The Invisible Man so good? I was not expecting that to be like the best one that I've seen of those, but it's so good. So I can't say horror. I'm not a big horror fan, but I have seen some that I do like. But I guess I will say this, which is related because I just watched it this weekend for Halloween. I am not a parody guy. I don't know if there's a parody movie that I've seen that I like. That kind of over the top, just like, isn't it stupid? Isn't it funny because it's stupid? Like that kind of comedy. I can't. I don't know. It doesn't really work with me. Maybe there's some parodies still that I haven't seen. But I watched. The reason I mentioned that was because I watched Young Frankenstein this weekend, and I didn't really care for it. But yeah, there's a lot of parodies I haven't seen, so maybe there's some that I haven't. Is there anything else that you're thinking of, or?
I don't know.
I guess he says just genres that you can't get into. Well, he says no matter what, so I guess that would kind of mean that you can't even find one.
I could whip out my Captain Logan impression and try to answer for him, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what his answer would be for this. So
he's pretty broad. By the way, I was talking about the original Invisible Man from 1933. Someone was asking which one I was talking about, but yeah, it's great. Check it out.
Rains is so good in that movie, and you never see his face. He's amazing in it.
So good, and he's so creepy, and that movie's so funny. I don't know how they balanced that. It was like horrifying and hilarious and so entertaining. It was so good.
So, James Whale made the first Frankenstein, and then he made that, and then he made The Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, sweet.
So the Bride of Frankenstein, like from a production standpoint, is more in line with The Invisible Man, and a few of the actors from Invisible Man come over for Bride of Frankenstein.
Awesome. I'm so glad I watched Invisible Man first, because I'm going to be watching Bride of Frankenstein pretty soon. It's on my list coming up. So, yeah, me and Connor just filmed a like 2-hour video going over our lists that we're trying to get through this October. So it was like 45 movies that we're on both of our lists that we're trying to get through this October, like spooky movies. So that just went up yesterday on the Welder channel. So if you're interested in hearing us talk about Halloween things, check it out. And Kev's back.
Hi there. How's my show been doing?
It was good. We got a good question from Daniel Davis about what are some genres that we just can't get into no matter what.
It's great. A classic question for the Captain Logan show. Yeah.
It was a good conversation. But I've got a super chat here from Goofster123.
What's up?
$5. Thoughts on Adam Warlock casting and Bill Murray in Ant-Man?
I didn't
Ants.
immediately recognize that actor from anything, and I looked it up, and apparently he's in The Revenant, which I saw, but I don't remember him in that. So I've got no thoughts.
Did you see Midsummer, or is that just Eric who saw Midsummer?
No, I did not see that.
Okay. It's Will Poulter. He is an actor who is great in literally everything I've seen him in. I am very, very excited to see what he does with the character. I don't know anything about Adam Warlock, but I know it's not Will Poulter. So I'm just excited to see what he does, because like the guy is really funny. He's good at doing drama. I don't like the Maze Runner movies. He's the best thing about those movies. And he was in a movie called Detroit that was directed by Catherine Bigelow, which he was horrifying in. So I am very excited to see what he does with this character.
I first saw him in the third Narnia movie. He plays Eustace.
Daniel Davis, if he's talking about the same person you're talking about, says it's Tom Hardy's son. Is that true? Or is he talking about somebody else?
Did he play Tom Hardy's son in The Revenant, I think?
Is that what he's saying? Yeah, okay. I vaguely remember that character now, but it's been forever.
He's famous because his eyebrows are wacky looking.
Yeah, he's eyebrows kid.
Was it? You think that's the whole reason he got cast as Warlock? It's just he's got a memorable comic book looking face, and so was it surprising casting to you?
Yeah, it was. I would say, because whenever I think about him, I think of kind of tall, awkward looking kid. But I know the guy got jacked for one movie, but I don't know. I think
he might
he's
for this too.
Powerful. Yeah, maybe.
I feel like they can do literally anything with that character that they want to, because they're throwing him in so far after they've already done Infinity Gauntlet. Like it's really strange that you would set up Adam Warlock before Infinity War, and then he's not anywhere to be found when you do the Infinity stuff. And then now we're introducing Adam Warlock. Like, okay.
I hope they do an entirely different origin in this one, so that they set him up at the end of the first one, they set him up at the end of the second one, and then they just
none of it ever mattered.
Yeah, they just have a completely different reason in this one. But yeah, that's cool. He's really famous. He was in a really famous episode of Black Mirror. I don't know which one that was. Was that the Choose Your Own Adventure one that he was in? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a full-on movie, like movie length thing?
Maybe so. Yeah.
I meant to see that when it came out, and I forgot all about it. It's been a couple years now. No, it's probably been 3 or 4 years now. Hasn't it?
Time means nothing anymore.
Yeah, apparently not.
Maniac Madness 11.
Hi there.
He also said, the Gooster in the last one, Bill Murray and Ant-Man.
I hadn't heard that.
I didn't know that. If he's not voicing a computer-generated cat, I don't care.
I wonder who he's going to be, and if he's going to stand up and move around at all.
He'll be the guy in the chair for Ant-Man.
I also wonder if he's been named, and then he'll refuse to actually show up because he just doesn't feel like doing it, and then they'll have to replace him with somebody and just be like, okay, well, I mean, we had him for, and then just to not throw Bill Murray under the bus, they'll act like there was like a really legitimate reason he wasn't there, and it'll just because he decided he didn't want to do it. I'm also because I don't know if you guys know about this. I'm pretty sure this is true. I have read multiple sources that say that Bill Murray doesn't get cast the way your typical actor gets cast. Obviously, he doesn't go to auditions. He's too big and full of himself for that. But he doesn't just like people don't just like call him and ask him if he wants to be anything. You get an answering machine. Like he has a number that you call if you want him to be in something. And if he's interested, he calls you back. And if he's not, you just never hear from him. Apparently that's the way he gets cast in things. So I'm I'm picturing the Marvel executive that leaves a message on Bill Murray's answering machine, just hoping that he'll respond. Hey, Bill Murray, you've probably been expecting this call for a while. Maybe not 31 movies in, but we really do finally want you for something in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you don't know what that is, Disney owns this comic book franchise called Marvel. It's like Avengers and Iron Man and all of that stuff. And every actor, literally your age, has gotten a cameo or has been a villain in these movies, and it's really high time that you did one of those, and we promise we won't just make you a poster.
Unless you want one.
That's the call.
Make you a really good poster.
Cap, I think you need to make that an ongoing series on your channel, where it is just Bill Murray's answering machine. It's different agents calling and explaining what they're trying to pitch him.
That's the thing where I won't have really made it until I make the Bill Murray answering machine show. And, like, those are the videos on Geekvolution after 13 years that finally get 1 million views. It's just the Bill Murray answering machine videos.
You have one lined right up. It's the Jurassic World 3 one.
Oh, yeah.
Do it.
And what's great about it, too, is I don't even have to do a Bill Murray impression. Because it's not
Exactly.
Bill Murray talking, it's just people leaving answering machine messages on Bill Murray's answering machine, trying to get him to be in things. Oh, man, I want to make at least one.
All right.
And then we're going to find out that whole thing was a rumor and it's not real. Bill Murray does not have it. I'm almost positive this is true, though.
Yeah, we're just taking it. Like, this guy could have completely made this up because none of us heard about it. So I would love people to just do that. Just make up news. And we'll try to act like we have anything to say about it. Maniac Madness 11.
It's not April Fool's Day, you guys. Like,
how do you separate nitpicking and valid criticism? Oh, we've got to answer a serious question.
Let's let Conner field this one first, because I keep acting like my name's in the title. So we're going to let Conner go ahead and respond first. Go ahead, Conner.
All right, this is the first episode of the Conner Nielsen show. So I guess when it comes to me, when you watch a movie or a television show, or you read a book or a comic book or a magazine or whatever, when you read something, so like, I don't know, in my opinion, when it comes to criticism, there are objective and subjective elements to making a movie. I'll just use movies because that's my field. I know some people want to say it's all subjective, but that's not true. Objectively, a movie runs a certain length. Objectively, an actor played this role. Objectively, this scene is played before the last. These are the characters that are speaking. This is how they were spoken. This is how, like, the lines were spoken. This is the blocking. All of that stuff is objectively there. But when it comes to the way you want to critique, but the way an audience interprets it is entirely subjective. The experience of absorbing that art is subjective. It's dependent on your day, who you're with, what mood you're in, and a bunch of other factors that you just either do or do not have control over. So when it comes to whether something's a nitpick or whether it's a actual criticism, my thing comes down to how consequential what's bothering me is to the piece or not. For example, me saying that Daniel Craig's James Bond just is not my preferred interpretation of the character, that's just a nitpick, right? But, like, that being said, I still enjoyed the movie in spite of all that. There's like 101 dumb things in plenty of movies that I like, but I choose to overlook it because I don't think it's necessarily an inherent problem with the piece. Maybe it's a problem with a scene, but maybe overall, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. But when it comes to an actual criticism with it, the way I am subjectively interpreting the movie, mixed with what I am perceiving as the objective elements of the way a movie is constructed, if something is incongruous with another thing in the movie, I see that as a problem. So that is, and I know there's a lot more specifics I could get into and a lot more minutia, but broadly speaking, that is how I determine a nitpick from an actual problem.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, it's forest for the trees, right? If somebody decides that there's this, what they perceive as a huge problem that boils down to, like, a single moment in a film, it can seem like nitpicking. However, there are those things where it totally makes sense that for the person that felt that way, it would ruin and destroy an entire movie. Like, what bugs me is when somebody uses the word nitpick to try to invalidate a criticism, where, like, I think you can criticize anything you want to in a movie. Saying that this thing is, even if it's super minor, this thing happened in this movie, it was weird, it took me out, I want to talk about it because I find it interesting or problematic or funny or stupid or whatever it is, forest for the trees. That doesn't necessarily mean that the whole movie is ruined by that one little thing there. I just wanted to talk about it. What's wrong with that? It's always bugged me. They're I have to say, I dislike that comment when somebody in a YouTube video, me or anybody else reviewing something, will try to invalidate a review by saying, well, you brought up this thing that isn't that important, doesn't ruin the whole movie, you're wasting my time, it's just a nitpick. So what about that? Maybe it is just a nitpick, but I wanted to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes nitpicks are fun to talk about, but I also think that is a totally for each individual person kind of subjective notion. Where it becomes less subjective, I think, is if you claim that a thing is more prevalent than it is in a movie, and I'm speaking real broadly when I say this and kind of cryptic, but if you act like a thing was all over a movie that really was just this minor element that showed up, like, you know, one time or something, if your argument is that was enough to make me dislike the movie, I can't argue with you on that, because I'm not you. I haven't had your experiences. I don't appreciate the way that you sit down and watch a movie. But if you are, like Connor said, subjective versus objective, if you're claiming that a thing objectively took over a movie that was barely there, that's a nitpick.
Well spoken. I agree.
But I think people should lighten up about nitpicks. I think it's fine to nitpick a thing. If you don't want to listen to that, turn the video off, or ask the person you're talking to change the subject. But like to be like, you know, you're negative about this little thing, and I want you to just turn your sign green and leave it there. That's not fair. That's not fair. Like, you know, I got the things that came up that I want to talk about. Me and anybody else. I mean, I don't mean to just talk about myself, but you know, I see this a lot where it's like, you can't talk about that. That's just nitpicking. Yeah, you can though.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I know I had heard some people because I had written a review on Letterboxd for Venom, and I saw other reviews on Letterboxd. I saw somebody say that if you're too hard on this movie, that means you're just kind of too pretentious to enjoy this. And I'm like, no, you're not.
That's not fair.
Like,
that's not fair with anything.
It's not. And I think that when it comes to, like, yes, and I think this is a part of the Venom movies for me is, am I nitpicking certain things because certain creative decisions just don't jive for me? Sure. But if there's enough of them stacked together, I think enough, like, snowflakes pounding up, like, that's going to create something hard to get through, right?
Yeah. They also could be examples of a larger problem.
That's true, yeah. And then there are some problems that are just hard to describe, like tone is hard. If something just tonally is wrong to you, that's hard to describe, and it sounds like a nitpick. But tone is one of the hardest things to get right.
You got to give people articulation is difficult. You know?
Yes.
I mean, we got to stop. I think for the most part, we got to give people the benefit of the doubt and stop assuming that you must have, like, bad, awful, ulterior motives for disliking a thing and saying that to a person that did like it. I also don't understand just being offended by criticism as an idea, where it's like, well, I liked this thing, so you shouldn't have opinions about it. You know, I've never understood that, especially if you're somewhere like Letterboxd or something, where, like, you're reading people's reviews, a place that's, like, suggesting have an opinion and express it, and then you go read people's expressed opinions and you go, how dare you think anything but this was perfect because I thought it was perfect. Well, they have the right to express themselves, and I don't understand why you're wasting your time reading negative criticism if you don't think it should be there. I don't understand that. I don't understand people who watch I'm soapboxing. I don't understand people who watch reviews expecting reviewers to not be critical. Very strange.
Why? Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Why would you want to hear positive from? Why would you care to hear positive stuff from other people if you don't want to? Like, I don't know what the motivation is there. Just to find other people that, I guess, just to find other people that like.
Are you just looking for affirmation or something? It's like, you know, or you just want to hear like a bunch of people repeat the thing that you're saying, maybe because you feel like you don't have enough of an outlet. And I can sympathize with that certainly to some degree, but like to just go, you know, I'm gonna go look at a bunch of reviews and expect them all to be positive, and if they're not, there's something wrong with the world. I think people should be more open-minded than that and give people more of the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and like just on some level, like I don't know, like I know a couple of years ago I was kind of going through a weird phase where there was a lot of things I liked, and it seemed like no one I knew liked the things I liked.
Yeah.
And even if I found people who liked the same things, it's like we didn't like it for the same reason, so I felt sort of like an alien. And that sucks. Like, I know how that feels, but I'm not going to get upset that Captain Logan's not a fan of Twin Peaks. Who cares? He had his own opinion on it, right? Like, I'm still friends with the guy.
Yeah, and I didn't spend any time with that. Like,
well, and that's true, but like, I don't know, like, it's a whole thing. It's just like I get where you're coming from, and I understand why people want validation. I think wanting validation is a larger is systemic of a larger problem of maybe loneliness or a lack of connection or something. So I don't know. Maybe if you're wanting validation from movie reviewers, maybe look around your own life and try to see what you can fix there, because
again, we're soapboxing, but I'm gonna continue this for just one more minute and express another thought, which is if you really need that kind of validation because you feel like you're like, you know, a lone wolf and you can't find people who feel the same way you do about things, I caution you, and again, I sympathize. I caution you for a couple of reasons. First of all, even if you feel like you have to have that, at least be open-minded enough to realize that there are people who are on the other side of whatever your opinion is that are also looking for that same validation, and nobody can make everybody happy. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if somebody agrees with you on one thing, we all are different people who come from different backgrounds with different experiences, we're different ages, etc., etc. You cannot expect me to line up 100% with everything that you think on every movie, comic, TV show, whatever it is. And it is unfortunate, the folks that that find, you know, reviewers or commentators or whoever it is who they agree with for like 6 months, and then they put out that one thing that's completely against everything that they think, and it totally crushes them. And like now they've lost that validation, and it's like they were betrayed by a friend. Try not to fall in that trap, because you're never going to find a person that will 100% agree with everything you say, and if that's what you need in a friendship, you will remain lonely. Rant ended, but yeah.
Speaking of lone wolves, our next super chat comes from Lone Wolf Jedi of Gotham. Sorry, buddy.
I was like, whoa, am I being replaced?
Did you just take over DJ's job?
No, our next one actually comes from Logan Dodd, which starts the same way. Maniac Madness 11. He said, "Wow, I didn't think they would go this in depth with the questions. Sorry, guys."
That wasn't going
don't
in depth
us.
as much as it was jumping off a ledge and just not pulling a parachute. That's what we just did.
All right, so Logan Dodds wants to know.
Oh, he can be on Team Cap. He's a Logan.
Yeah, there you go. You got one. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one.
Have movies become too politically compromised? And then he puts an addendum. Have movie franchises, rather, become too politically compromised?
I mean, some of them.
I'm a little curious what that means, like compromise.
My guess, just in...
I'm just a messenger.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to interpret this. It's a short question with not a lot of...
Much like movies, super chats are also subjective based on...
They're up to interpretation.
Background.
I would imagine, based on the direction that a lot of discourse, particularly on the channel, has been going lately, that he's probably talking about what I was referring to earlier, which is kind of the like politicization of media and like the pandering thing and all of that, where like we sometimes aren't making movies or you know, making stuff in media in general just to tell stories, but to like pat ourselves on the back and try to tell a group of people we're with you and no one else should be watching, because I think that is happening with stuff. So yeah, I mean, with certain franchises that has been a problem. Absolutely, I think Star Trek has that. I think it's wending its way into various things all over the place. But I don't see it in everything. I don't even see it in all of CW stuff. Some of it, but not all of it.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one because I don't feel like I know enough about a lot of franchises right now to comment on it. Why don't you take it away, Cap?
Well, I don't have anything else to add. I feel very comfortable in saying yes for something like Star Trek when you have the showrunner of those shows coming out and basically saying, if you're a conservative, don't watch our shows because they're not for you. Like, that seems like exactly that. Where it's like we're making things for a particular group of people that follow a particular political ideology, and everybody else is told to go home. And I particularly don't like that in Star Trek because that's so against the principles of that whole idea in the first place. But like, you know, I always hesitate on this kind of thing because I don't want to get too political myself, and this is not me like rooting for one side over another side. I don't like this with anything that I agree with or disagree with. I don't care what it is. I don't want and again, I think there's a difference between a piece of fiction having a conservative or a liberal or what have you, like, ideal at the center of it that's making an argument for that idea versus a thing that's telling you that you're an idiot for not already being on board. It's different. And like, I've liked all kinds of things that I don't necessarily even agree with at the end of the day, and vice versa. Like, it's not about what the ideology is. It's about being ideologically driven versus story driven. Is how I feel about it. And yeah, I think that's compromising some stuff. I also think just trying to make everybody happy is a problem. And like, I would say that's what's going on in certain MCU things right now before they're being politically compromised. Unless you want to define it as that, I guess that's fair.
Well, I mean, I guess I would agree that the lack of any coherent message in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier makes that movie, or make that show, feel politically compromised.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's trying to appeal to everyone and then like acting like it's trying to say something, and I don't feel like it's saying anything.
And I think Captain Marvel had exactly the same problem. But
I also feel like I see this around where, and I'm not saying anyone here says this or anyone watching, I just see a trend, and this is very anecdotal.
Yeah.
But I see a trend of people attached to a project speaking about the project in a way that is maybe exclusionary, or saying like, look, this is not for this audience, or this is not for that audience, or whatever. And it's almost like they're projecting a certain read on the project that I don't feel like anyone, or like I wouldn't have noticed if that person didn't say something.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, I just can't take people attached to a project speaking on its intent seriously.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Absolutely.
And because to me, anytime like an actor or a producer or a director or a writer wants to come out and say something about this project they are promoting, it's just that. It's promotion. It's all marketing. Mm-hmm. And I just cannot take any of that seriously. And I see, this is not Geekvolution, I see a lot of channels build an entire library on, can you believe what this person said in an interview?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care, because it's just marketing, and I can't take that serious.
And in that one,
it's like taking too much stock in politician speeches, man. Like,
yeah, even more ridiculous, because that one actor doesn't speak for the hundreds of people it takes to make a movie. Like, that's just that person's opinion, even if it is a real opinion, which a lot of times it probably isn't. Like you said, it's probably just marketing and they're saying what they have to sell the movie.
Because I know, and I'm not going to say names, but there's a person I am friends with on Facebook who I think is a lovely person. She doesn't watch the James Bond movies. And so when there was the headline of the new 007 is a black woman, she went, yes, queen, yeah. Like, you don't know what that means. In the last James Bond movie, he retired. Are you like, there's 5 other headlines I could point you to that'll make you upset. And when you never watch No Time to Die, you will be disappointed she's not the main character.
And also, you think representation is important, fine. Don't you care what's done with the character? Doesn't that matter?
That matters more than anything. Like what? Like.
But a lot of people don't seem to think it matters. So that character's representing a group of people, and they're there, and that must mean that they're important and heroic and whatever. And like, but
because when it's just in the marketing, you can make it mean whatever you want.
Yeah.
But when you actually get to the heart and the content of the story, well, I don't want to spend 2.5 hours watching No Time to Die, so I'm just going to pretend this is what the movie's about because the headline said it, and I didn't read the article.
Oh.
Well, I have other things to say about that, but we need to move on. So go ahead, DJ.
All right, Mr. Roboto. If Cap in Smallville is counting crypto freaks, does he find out Clark Kent's secret, a la Indian caves, etc.?
That's hilarious. So basically, say if I'm like the Count in Sesame Street and I go to Smallville in the fiction of Smallville and I'm counting the crypto freaks, would I actually land on a Clark secret? It depends on how important I am to the show or not. Like if I'm the writing of it, because if I'm gonna be a regular character that's not a villain, I don't get to find out no matter how good I am at investigating. It's why it takes 7 seasons. If I'm a
that's
one-off,
basically what What's Her Face was. She was all following the crypto freaks, and her best friend was one, and she didn't even figure it out. So Chloe.
You're talking about Chloe? Yeah, exactly. So no, I wouldn't. But if I was like a one-off character that you could kill or mind wipe at the end, then yes, I'd find out in 10 minutes.
That's your crypto freak power.
That
You're like a homing beacon for all other crypto freaks.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever did that one. Because that's a power, of course, that comes up a lot with mutants and things. And we did that in the second episode, I believe, of Birds of Prey. Like when we did or maybe it's third. When we do the Freak of the Week formula in that show, that is only a 13-episode show. It gets canceled. And they do so many of the standard genre formulas in that 13 episodes. It's really kind of appalling. As much as I like the things about that show, like we have to do the Underground Fight Club episode, and we have to do the kid that is born, grows old, and dies in 45-minute episode. Like, and all of these things happen in Smallville. But I think that might be the one thing they did that Smallville did. I can't remember. There was a character that was a metahuman that could find metahumans, and it gave him headaches, so he wanted to kill them all. It was like the worst superpower ever. It's like I can find them because I get like deathly ill when I'm around them. I almost sympathized with that guy as an almost serial killer. Like I would want them all dead too if like I couldn't live being around them. Like it doesn't make it okay, but I get it. But yeah, so if you had that in Smallville, you would die at the end of that episode, just like that guy did.
Anonymous Kaiju, $5. Hey, are you and Eric going to be able to do a video on the other DC animated movies? Curious to hear how you feel about Long Halloween Part 2.
So I have not watched that yet, and I will try to bring it up on a Captain Logan show when I finally get to it. At the moment, Eric and I are just going to have to, unfortunately, stop that old... what's the word I'm looking for? It's late. I've been doing this for a long time now. Tradition. Thanks, Connor. Yeah, because we just don't have time to get together, and he's having to work too much. So it's either... And also, to be fair, I'm not doing solo, or on their own how we felt about their spoiler cast right now. So I was on the fence about making an exception for that, just because that was always a tradition with me and Eric. I just think it would look kind of weird, where it's like, we'll do how we felt about on these random movies that most people aren't watching and don't care about, but we're not doing them for, like, the Venom movie and stuff. So, yeah, when and if we get more time to get together, I don't know what things are going to look like down the road, but I'm behind on those, and I need to start talking about them in some capacity. So, yeah, unfortunately for now, probably not. I don't know when Eric and I are going to be able to get together and start making comic videos again. So, yeah, not at the moment, unfortunately. And people keep sending me, like, please have Eric do this thing with you, and questions. And I don't want to be mean to anybody, but please stop sending me those, because the answer is always the same. I can't right now. He's too busy. I'm too busy. It's not happening at the moment. Stuff with Eric. Hopefully his schedule opens up around when mine does.
Jedi Knight, $2. What Batman and Spider-Man villains would you swap?
Oh, that's interesting. We're always asking the who's got the better rogues gallery question. Connor, do you have to get going?
No, but oh shoot.
I just don't want you to be
my
late to your movie.
Oh, I still have a half hour, but my phone is close to dying, so I'll have to plug myself in. So I'll just answer this really fast, and then I'll like turn off my camera, but I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. As far as like which characters I would swap, I want the Spot to be in 66 Batman. That's what I want.
That's the Cap answer. You just stole the words.
Oh, did I steal it?
No, I've got another one.
his
I've
head.
got another one. But who would you swap it with?
Ooh, I want Spider-Man to fight King Tut. So,
That's awesome. I love that you went for 266 characters too. That's great. Or not 266 characters, but a character to go in 66, swapped with a character from 66.
You gotta keep it the displacement equal, right?
That's awesome. I love that answer.
That's so cool. The only Batman villain I like is the Riddler, so I'd like to see the Riddler face off against Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a smart dude. I think that'd be fun. And who do I want to get rid of from Spider-Man?
It's not just get rid of. It's give us Batman fans something cool over in Spider-Man land. Like,
Well, I don't know. You go ahead. I gotta think about that.
I
don't
would
know who
give.
goes Batman.
This is not a lateral move. I was trying to think of a good lateral move. 'Cause I was thinking about doing like a mob boss thing because the first thing that comes to mind, and I realized this is a Daredevil character before a Spider-Man character, so I'm cheating a little bit. But in the '90s show, he was just a straight up Spider-Man villain. So just give it to me. Just give it to me. Give me Kingpin over in Batman. Because I think you could tell some great Batman Kingpin stories, and then I'm having a hard time coming up with a good lateral move because I'm like, what mob boss like Falcone? Who cares, right? Like with Spider-Man, or like who's the guy in Batman the Animated Series who was in Rupert Thorne? Like who cares? So I can't think of a great mob boss that would be fun to see go up against Spider-Man. So I'm gonna give Spider-Man Mysterio.
Spider-Man already has Mysterio.
I mean, I'm gonna give Batman. No, wait. What am I talking about? I gotta give Spider-Man I got thrown. I gotta give Spider-Man a Batman villain, and I can't think of who it should be. I'm just giving Batman nothing but Spider-Man villains. It's really funny that the Kingpin thing came to me immediately, but going the other way is not. Connor, I'm trying to think of a good Batman villain to throw over at Spider-Man.
That's a good question.
Like that's not 66, because I was yeah, I don't know.
Because I was gonna say, if you're going for mobsters, I think Hammerhead would be cool in
There
like,
you
the
go.
Nightfall era of
There
Batman.
you go. Yeah, that'd be all right.
No, we've already gone to Batman. He needs to go back to Spider-Man. That's what he can't.
Let's say Poison Ivy.
There you go. She teams up with Sandman.
Or
and they make the entire world sand.
maybe Killer Croc, because it's got to be like an animal villain, right?
Yeah, but he's already got Lizard, which is pretty close to Killer Croc. Sometimes.
They can team up.
Ooh, Copperhead.
Penguin.
Copperhead.
Somebody said Penguin.
Yeah, somebody said Penguin. People said the Ventriloquist.
I feel like Batman Returns Penguin is kind of a Spider-Man villain.
What about Copperhead, right? It's a guy in a
That's good.
costume.
God, I'm so out of it right now. I couldn't even figure out how to do like a swap. I just kept taking characters from Spider-Man, from Spider-Man, moving them to Batman. I just couldn't stop doing it.
Firefly's good. Ultron 563. That's kind of a Spider-Man villain.
Man-Bat's good. Good call, Chewbacca's lover.
Catwoman.
That'd be fun.
Got like a
Oh
threesome.
no, that's perfect. You put Man-Bat over at Spider-Man, and you put Man-Spider over at Batman. That's what you do.
Wait, does Batman have to grow 6 arms first? Before?
Well, Batman's not Man-Bat.
No, but Spider-Man is Man-Spider.
No, I know. I guess it could be
Be a clone.
It could be the Morrison Man-Bat Batman from the end of Batman Incorporated, Connor.
Okay.
It could be that one. Or when he turns into a bat in Batman versus Ninja Turtles. There is precedent for Batman turning into a giant bat, because it's right there, it's on the nose, you have to do it occasionally. But yeah, or you could do a lizard Man-Bat swap, because they're basically the same character. Kirk Langstrom and Connors, right? Like, they're basically the same character.
Could it be Man-Bat from Scooby-Doo Guess Who? Or Scooby-Doo meets Batman? Spoiler alert,
I forgot Man-Bat was in that. God, it's been so long. I don't even remember what they did with that.
All right, let's see. Maniac Madness 11 back again. $2.
How many super chats do we have left? Because we're well over 2 hours, and we got to close up shop here.
5. But
Okay.
The last 3 are all from Chewbacca's Lover, and they're all about that conversation we were just having.
Oh, no. Chewbacca's Lover, I'm sorry. We're probably not going to spend as much more time on that as you wanted us to, just because I was quite done with that conversation. Okay, go ahead, DJ.
All right, Maniac Madness 11. What's your favorite superhero movie trailer ever?
It's still Watchmen. You're never going to beat the Watchmen trailer. I mean, maybe, but it hasn't happened for me yet.
Look, there was a time when I used to get excited by movie trailers, and in that time, The Dark Knight Rises. Dude, I can't say anything else. Those trailers amp me up so much.
And see, I think that's so much of the difference between how you and I feel about that movie, because I was scared by those trailers, man. I was like, something feels off already. And then everything I was worried about kind of happened.
The reason I don't do, like, super fan speculation culture is because of The Dark Knight Rises. When I first watched it, I was disappointed, and I didn't really care much for it.
Trust your
because I
instinct.
was like, oh, it's just a movie. Oh. And so, yeah.
Oh, because you expected it to be the second coming of Christ, like everybody did with The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Owlman, because Spider-Man does have the owl. They both have owls.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, that's true. You could do that. That's cool.
This is such a hard question for me to answer because I haven't watched a superhero movie trailer since 2010.
It's not like he goes back retroactively and looks at the trailers for movies he saw.
2011 is when I stopped watching trailers for movies I was going to see anyway. So I didn't watch the Thor trailer, and I didn't watch the Captain America trailer, and I didn't watch the First Class trailer. And I enjoyed all those movies, and I feel like I've enjoyed movies better because I haven't watched trailers. So to go back and think of a trailer before 2010, I don't think I watched the Watchmen trailer, so I didn't have like the spiritual experience that Cap seems to have had with that trailer.
I'm not alone, though. A lot of people felt that way.
It's awesome. Isn't that song from Batman Forever?
So it's complicated. It is and it's not. So there's 2 versions of that song, and it's both Smashing Pumpkins, but one is called, and I can't remember which is which right now. One is called The End is the Beginning is the End, and the other is called The Beginning is the End is the Beginning. And one is from Batman and Robin, and the other one was in that trailer.
Nice.
And by from Batman and Robin, I mean was on the soundtrack. Wasn't actually, and in the credits, was not actually featured inside the film. Of course. A more recent one, because, yeah, I don't tend to get super impressed with trailers these days. They're all, much of the time, they're kind of stock.
Oh!
Well, why don't you just fall out of your face? I'll just give mine real quick. Logan was a wonderful trailer.
Oh, that was the one.
Oh, was that your thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually did go back and watch that one after I saw the film, and that's a great trailer.
It's a wonderful
I know
trailer.
you guys weren't as impressed by it as I was. I thought the Batman trailer was all kinds of great.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet. I'm excited for that movie, though. That's cool. Chewbacca's Lover, $5. Garfield 2004 sucked. But Bill Murray was pitch perfect casting. He's the voice I hear in my head when I read the comics. Just needed a good script.
So,
Well, and the reason why Bill Murray signed on to do that, is that where you're going to go?
yes, good.
Okay. Is because he thought the script was written by Ethan Cohen of the Coen Brothers. It was actually written by Eaton Cohen. No H. No
Yeah,
H.
those eyes, they start to go as you get up in years.
And I'm sure the reason that he was asked was because the guy who voiced Garfield in the original cartoon show was the sound-alike voice for him in Ghostbusters. So like it was the most obvious possible casting. Like, we'll go to Bill Murray, the guy who actually sounds like what they wished Garfield sounded like when they cast that guy in the cartoon show.
Awesome.
Yeah, that wasn't totally random. I did a Garfield joke earlier, that's why he said that. And then 3 more from Chewbacca's Lover. about the criticism thing. I can't say it's all subjective, but so many people disagree on what makes something objectively good. People don't even agree what a movie should be. And I can probably go through all three of these, and then we can talk if anything jumps out.
Can I jump on that just real quick and say that
yeah, sure.
I think part of the issue is that there isn't anything that makes a thing objectively good. Like I don't think. Maybe that idea is in itself subjective. I don't want to get into this whole rabbit hole, but the issue isn't what everybody should agree on is good. It's what everybody should agree is. Like Conner was talking about earlier. Those are different things, guys. And I've always said, and I stand by this, that there are all kinds of wrong answers. There's no such thing as a right answer when it comes to this. So you can love a movie by claiming that stuff is there that isn't, that you just were looking for, and then went, hey, like isn't this wonderful? It's like, yeah, it's not in the movie though. That would be a wrong answer. To like a thing for a reason that for an element that I thought made it terrible, that's subjective. That's where you're not right, I'm not right, you're not wrong, I'm not wrong. We have differing opinions on a thing. No such thing as a right answer. There are wrong answers.
And then a second super chat, $10. Some people argue that movies emotionally moving people is the most important thing, and not everything needs to make sense or add up if it grabs the audience. And then the next one, while others argue the opposite, that something can be objectively good but not entertaining, one group thinks the objective job of a movie is to get an emotional reaction. Who's right?
So, and I am glad you brought this up. So, if the idea is, because I always critique a film based on, as I always say, what the thing is trying to do, if it succeeds at that, and if that thing was worth doing in the first place. And that third thing is always going to be debatable, right? And also the second one too. But that third thing is what you want yourself, to some degree. So if we can agree that a film, and we can't always even agree on this, but if we agree that this is what a film was trying to accomplish, and it accomplished that thing, but we're not in agreement on that third thing, then you might like a thing that I don't like. So if we both go, Dark Knight was trying to do X, Y, and Z, and I say it achieved it and it was worth doing and I liked that direction, so I liked it. And you, whoever you are, say it achieved that and it was great at it, but that's not what I want from Batman. I didn't enjoy it. Both of those things are absolutely valid.
Yes. So regarding the one camp of people saying all a movie needs to be is emotionally stimulating and other people saying the contrary, that just comes down to what kind of a person you are. Now, I, personally speaking, am much more, I guess that's like whether you're a more right-brained or left-brained person. I don't even necessarily know what that's the case. I don't know. But the point is, when it comes to myself, I am more of the, I want to be emotionally engaged by a story. And I don't necessarily need it to make 100% sense. This is why I love David Lynch's movies. Before everyone goes to sleep, I just wanted to say, with those, that's a filmmaker who makes stuff that I don't even necessarily understand what's going on 100% of the time, but I know it's not random. There's something that feels like it's relying on audience intuition, and it understands, like there's like a symmetry to everything, and like everything seems to have a place. And that's just me relying entirely on intuition. And that, to me, is sort of a litmus test to what kind of art you like. If you don't like art that does that, then that's fine. If you want, because, like, for example, going to the other thing, I know The Social Network is a film everyone in this call really, really likes, except for me. And I understand that is a story that does everything basically perfectly. I just don't like it, even though I recognize it's basically a perfectly constructed story and film. But it is strange when we're talking about audience response, and like the I think the problematic element of this whole discussion is it's talking about what kind of it's trying to identify what is the proper viewer of a piece of art.
Yeah.
And there are just and as a viewer there are just way too many elements weighing on a person at every second while they're taking in a piece of art that you're just not going to be able to recreate. You can watch a movie at 5 different points in your life and have 5 greatly different experiences with. The thing has never changed. It's the piece of art. It is. But you're the one changing, and your circumstances and your environments are changing them. Or at least they can change.
Yeah, that's why I say you're never exactly the same person minute to minute. But also, you might be close enough that you love Neverending Story when you were 5 and you still love it now for all the same reasons, or you might still like it nostalgically but recognize all the flaws with the film, or you might never have cared about the flaws and you don't know how to look at it objectively, and that's also okay. Conner, when it comes to movies that are more about the emotional experience and it's more like a it's more like a painting trying to elicit a response before it's a straightforward narrative that's about wrapping you up in what's supposed to feel like a real world in the moment. That is, to me, and of course, yes, I prefer one thing over the other, generally speaking, but for me, it's case by case, and it's up to the film to communicate to me what kind of thing it is. And if I feel like it's telling me, and maybe we can sometimes even disagree on whether this is what it's doing, Conner, but if I feel like a movie is telling me that it is a traditional, straightforward narrative, but it's trying to cheat and do the just straight up emotional thing also, that's a cop-out and emotional manipulative, and that's a thing I can't get behind. So that's different than the Lynch thing, at least for the Lynch movies that I've seen, and like, because I think those things make it really clear that, okay, it's kind of ethereal from the get-go. It's not necessarily important that everything adds up at the end. That's not what it's about. But I've seen a lot of movies, especially more recently, that start off as one thing, and then because they know they're not working, they're trying to be review-proof by trying to be that second thing. That doesn't work. You can't do that. That's not fair. That's not playing fair with the audience.
Live-action Disney remakes now. Yeah, no, you're.
That is what we're talking about. But yeah, that's not that crap's not fair. Don't do that to people.
Oh, I completely agree.
You just got to communicate to the audience what you are, and that's different from being accessible. In fact, it's how you tell an audience if you are going to be accessible, because you don't have to be, right? So that doesn't mean that you have to fit in a perfect mold where, like, this is very obviously from the beginning a straight up by the numbers science fiction movie. Sometimes it's satisfying to find out that a thing isn't what you thought you were watching. It's all about the film exuding confidence and taking you along for the ride and winning you over. That's all it's about. And I think it's possible to win. This is the main thing I'm getting at. I think it's possible, to win me over on this is what I'm doing and it's working, even if you're not winning me over on I'm enjoying this experience. It's different.
Yeah, there is so much nuance and examples and different avenues of this conversation that we will not be able to cover in a 5-hour discussion. But
well, here's another one. Philip Kelton gave us 20 Mexican peso super chat. He said, "We are all wrong."
Okay.
That was just a joke. And then the second super
That's
chat,
probably true. We as a species don't actually know anything. Hey, go ahead.
There's the first bit of truth that was spoken this evening. Philip Kelton, another one. The point of a film is to tell a story and make you believe in it. The emotional ride is part of the narrative and the suspension of disbelief.
So, I know what Conner is probably going to say, and I'm going to try to say what Conner is going to say because I agree with what I think Conner is going to say, and that is sometimes, maybe even most of the time, but not always, and it's not fair to expect that. Again, movies don't have to neatly wrap themselves up in a bow. I don't even think movies have to be narrative experiences necessarily. Just tell me what you are. Just make it clear pretty early. If you're not actually telling a story, or if the story you're telling is not the paramount point of the thing.
Yeah, and this is, I think, one thing that I realized recently. I mentioned this, I think, either in the public Discord or the patron Discord, but I love it when a movie trolls me. But I also know a lot of people don't, and I get it. Like, there was a movie that came out called A Cure for Wellness, where it is a mystery for the first 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the last 15 minutes make a big reveal, that is both predictable and completely jumps the shark simultaneously. And I loved it. It's so hilarious and entertaining. I felt like I got pranked. It's great. Everyone hated that movie. Similarly with like The Counselor. Similarly with the movie called The Counselor, which is notoriously obtuse and difficult, and a lot of people just hate it, and I get why. I had fun because it, like you said, what I think a thing ought to do is it makes its intentions clear from the get-go, which is it's a deliberately obtuse Cormac McCarthy audiobook that has a visual component conveniently directed by Ridley Scott. And it is just obtuse, and it has no intention of being liked, and it has no intention of even really making any coherent sense after a certain point. And I think it's hilarious and kind of awesome. But everyone hates that movie, and I get why. I don't know. It's all art, and art is a hard subject to try to find objective readings of.
To a lesser degree, it's got that Iron Man 3 thing, it sounds like.
Yes.
You know, a little bit. I also feel like it's important to note that rules are made to be broken. And anytime I make a broad sweeping statement, like I did about this, where like you need to be upfront and let me know what you are, there's always going to be a movie or whatever we're talking about, a piece of art that breaks that rule and does it well. Where it actually, because like I said earlier, you can be surprised by what a thing turns out to be, even if you didn't know what it was at the beginning. And it's satisfying. It's just a general rule. Generally speaking, it's not a good idea to do that. And movies that manage it understand that rule and the reason you shouldn't break it, and then they break it in a way that works. And that's the example that proves the rule.
For anyone who's not reading John Kelling's commentary throughout this conversation, please do yourself a favor and read what he said.
It's pretty funny.
Well,
yeah.
One of the funniest things he said, I don't know if I'll be able to scroll up and find it now, but he said all a movie needs is popcorn and a box of goobers to be worthwhile, which I think is the perfect cap off to this conversation. We got one more super chat from Thomas.
And then we'll finish up here. Yeah.
Thomas
thanks,
Lowe 86. He has a definitive thing here. He says Dark Knight Rises just simply can't work because it's just unpolished.
I don't agree that it can't work, but I do agree that it's unpolished. I think it just needed another once-over. There's some sloppy stuff in that script. There's some plot points that just don't work, and motivation issues. And the basic skeleton of that thing is fine. But what irks me and makes it difficult for me to fully buy into it is that it feels like Bruce Wayne has read the script. Is one of the big things with that movie. But there's some other stuff where it's like things, third act things aren't set up properly, and so when you get to them, it's like, well, that didn't feel like that's where that was going all along. Or it could just be kind of lame, where it's like, oh really? Like that was Bane seemed really interesting ideologically earlier in this movie, and now it turns out that he's just working for this lady. So I think another once over with that script might have been all it needed.
Well, and I guess just kind of comes down to what the viewer expects from the film, and like I understand that I concede there's sloppiness in that script, but it does work for me as just a piece of like direction, of spectacle. I haven't seen one that good in a very long time. I don't know. I think it works kind of adjacent to the screenplay, but oh well.
We have
and I always find, and I don't want to like argue with Conner about this movie again, but I'll just add real quick that a movie that's that well made makes a script that's that not finished even more disappointing to me. Like that's part of the problem with it, is that it's such a good movie in one sense, but I do care more about the story. So when it's like a beautiful, storytelling failure, it makes it worse to me. Like I almost wish it wasn't as good on that other end. It hurts the story more to me.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Well, that's all I have, folks. That's all she wrote.
All right, cool. We're gonna have to end off now. There's some more
Just a
comments
messenger.
coming in that would be fun to talk about, but we're already 2.5 hours in, so we should call it a day. Thanks for all the thoughtful questions and all of the back and forth discourse. We really enjoyed it. Conner, thanks for staying the whole show, man. You certainly didn't have to do that.
Oh, hey, my pleasure. Maybe if we want to keep this under 2 hours, I should probably just dip after the review portions of the
Well, I'm never gonna make you leave, but thanks so much for being here, Conner. And might be Conner's third show in a row next week if he decides to show up for Halloween Kills. I probably will cover that next week, regardless.
If going to be a fixture for October because Dune comes out the next week.
Oh no, does it really? Okay, so here's the thing. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, don't know if I'm going to have a chance to see that movie before Thursday. So if I don't, we just won't cover it. Because I've got to do that. My time is crazy limited right now. And I've got to do a Fandome Sunday night. And Sunday nights has been when I've been going to movies. So I don't know if I'm actually going to get to go to that before Thursday. I'll let you know, Conner. But anyway. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you had a good time. We certainly did, and we will see you again real shortly. I will be back with you tomorrow night. Dan Torrey's going to pop in, and we're going to do a live commentary on The Mask, which we've been meaning to do for months and months, and it's weird that there's no commentary for that on the channel, considering I did a rewind on it, a glowing rewind years ago on that movie. I've got lots to say about it. It's been a while since I thought about it, but I'm sure I have lots to say about it, and I'm sure Dan does too. So we're going to do that tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Central Time, live. Sunday night, another live show. Lots of live stuff right now. Probably the Fandome show. I'll let you know if that changes. Definitely The Mask tomorrow. And I should also say that there's not going to be a Rewind Unscripted this week because we're doing a superhero rewatch with The Mask. So when we do, generally speaking, probably, especially because my time's so limited, when we do a commentary on a movie that I've done on Superhero Rewind, we'll kind of count that as the rewind that week. So no extra thing like that this week, but I've got another one in the can that'll come out for you the week after. For anybody that will care to watch that, I shot one on Teen Titans Go to the Movies, so look forward to that. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and across the way we had DJ Martinez and Conner Nielsen. Later, folks. Bye.